Alrighty, what's up guys? It's the Fallen Sanctum here. So I do have to apologize. I fell asleep this morning. I was uber tired. Went to bed late as usual. But here's the problem, right? I'm insomniac and I took my pills yesterday around like 3. And so they work for like 16 hours. So, but after that, I got like super sleepy. So it was like 6-ish a.m. I was trying to stay awake by watching some Coffees or Lavots because super interesting guy. And I just laughed. I just slammed through my alarm. It just didn't even matter. So I woke up and it was like 10. And I was like, okay, well, I already missed a start. I'll just get some shut-eye and then we'll... yeah. So it's like then we'll get... we'll just do the VOD review a bit later. So what I'm going to be doing is, I have the VOD pulled up here. I am going to be doing the skipping of the breakdowns because it's a lot of blah blah and they use copyrighted music during the breakdown anyways. I'll be skipping all the pauses and stuff. So this will be gameplay only for the quarterfinals match. I do believe 6 hours. There's 5 hours. And normally on average a game is 1 hour or something. So I do believe FlyQuest put up a good show. I don't know what happens. I've done my best to avoid spoilers. I've closed out every chat I'm in and stuff. And we're gonna... yeah. We're gonna enjoy it. So hopefully you guys are here with me. I know these Worlds videos have been getting an insane amount of support, so I really want to thank you guys. If you guys take the time to watch my content, to hear like my little tidbit pieces of information spread out through the video, I really appreciate it. You guys have no idea how much this is going to change my life. Just the fact that we've gotten so much support on these recent videos, especially like the LoL Switch Stage Day 4. But hey, man, if all these matches end up being like that one, I'm gonna be like the most thankful person in the history of the world. So, anyways, thank you for listening to my rant. I'm sorry I wasted 2 minutes of your time. Let's get into what you actually came here to watch. GenG versus FlyQuest knockout stage quarterfinals match number 4.
Much time since they played. It has been over 2 weeks since GenG played last at Worlds. They qualified for this stage back on the 5th. It is now the 20th here today, so they have had so much time to prep, to watch teams, to watch Swiss, to watch quarters, and decide exactly how they want to play.
All right, so let's jump into the draft now. Immediately targeting Whippos Renekton and Inspired's Ivern here for GenG alongside the Orianna band. Meanwhile, FlyQuest, they finally learned their lessons. They're paying their taxes. Aurora and Yone banned out on the red side alongside that Ezreal that has had some monumental performances so far this tournament. GenG, however, will lock in that Skarner. It has been very high priority, very high presence, and very effective so far at Worlds.
We got to remember that GenG haven't shown a huge amount at this year's World Championship, and they're keeping things secret.
Let's go!
He hovers over the Nunu.
No.
The Ashe already locked in with the Seraphine bot lane, so FlyQuest already bringing a strong 2v2 on the bot side
So
of the
this
map.
is a first pick here at Worlds, and if you know Boostio, you know he loves to play for winning 2v2. If you didn't know much about this player, this is actually a guy who was an original mid lane player and did swap over to support. It's really something that he's brought into the bot lane in that support role. He has played things like Azir support in the LCS, he has played all kinds of different mages, and he does really love to play for those winning 2v2s. That's clearly what FlyQuest is going to try to do here.
All right, well, if we're talking about some 2v2 threats, we've got Skarner and Rumble locked in for the top side for GenG. We know how much control Rumble can give you over the top side of the map, how much very effective combat power he can give you over those early skirmishes for grubs and topside fights. Skarner, massive power in the jungle as well. And Ahri has become a staple of the mid lane. You can see their 25 picks so far in the tournament with a slightly negative win rate, but piloted by Chovy, man. If anybody can make it work, I feel like this is the man.
Yeah, the tournament win rate might not be that good, but Chovy's win rate is 81%.
All right, that's pretty good.
Across 38 games.
That's
the
pretty
man
good.
is a monster on the champion. The Galio response going to come out out from Quad. Oh, I say that. Bwipo is likely going to be the player. We've already seen it a few times using the top lane. Bwipo himself has used it as an answer into the Rumble. And so FlyQuest right now have good range. They've got good responses to the teamfight power that GenG have started to draft for themselves. Support ban's going to be the direction that FlyQuest now go to limit the answers into the Seraphine. FlyQuest have to be thinking about the potential swap. So I imagine they're trying to make GenG's composition as weak as they can. Maybe either an Alistar or a Leona to follow alongside this route.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting if they do, in fact, double support ban, or if they are going to look towards, some of the ADs to ban away there from FaZe, because things like Kai'Sa, which are super high priority, are still up and available, and GenG is leaning towards what would probably be a dive comp to deal with this Seraphine, with this Ashe.
Well, in regards to a dive comp, GenG is going to get rid of the Cassiopeia. FlyQuest has shown that they are one of the teams willing to pick this. She is very effective at stopping enemies from coming forward, even if her short range would stop her from being able to make more aggressive movements compared to other mid laners. FlyQuest, however, will continue targeting those engaged champions. The Rakan banned out alongside the Rel.
Does make a lot of sense. We've seen how successful it's been so far at this World Championship, the amount of roaming potential that it does have. GenG contemplating how they want to round out maybe a Sylas ban. Nope, the Amumu, that respect thrown towards Inspired. You can already see the composition starting to build from FlyQuest, and they very much targeted Inspired. What direction is he now going to go?
And I just think this is really smart from GenG. They have to think, and they should believe, that you will beat FlyQuest every time if it's a standard game. So ban out all the pocket picks that you know of. Ban out these things that have shown to be successful from FlyQuest at Worlds, like the Ivern, like the Amumu, like the Cassio. And it is instead going to be that Xin Zhao, which does give him a lot of early skirmishing power here, but FaZe likely to get the Kalista, which has been so effective for him. Oh, Jinx, okay.
FaZe is Jinx. For those that saw him debut on the international stage, this was one of the champions that he really made a name for himself on. Returning to it, knowing that the potential for a lane swap is very real. GenG setting themselves up nicely for a strong 5v5.
And it's so interesting because coming into Worlds, a lot of the predictions were that Jinx was going to be one of these dominant AD carries in the meta, and it had completely fallen out. So to see it brought out here, I do think makes a lot of sense, and I agree, Vetty. Especially if they're just going to go Jinx Leona, you're looking for a swap. Very likely you're going to try to avoid this Ashe Seraphine, which would be such a problematic duo to deal with.
And I also feel like if you're looking at FlyQuest, you're looking at a team who has not had strong early games so far, so you're probably not as worried about allowing that Jinx the time to scale up and really become a powerhouse, as we're still waiting
Seraphine mid
to see the last pick here for FlyQuest.
Are they going to move it to Seraphine mid? That's the question. Because this obviously is a champion that you can flex around, and it is. So it's Seraphine mid for Quad, so they keep the option open here with the Seraphine. My immediate expectation was definitely that it was going to Boostio, that they're playing for dominant 2v2. But when you see what GenG is showing you in the draft, I think it's such a smart adaptation, because GenG, going with the Leona, going with the Jinx, they can just lane swap and avoid that dominant 2v2. Seraphine is not going to be very useful in this dive situation that you set up in that spot. So just pick Alistar, move Seraphine to mid, and avoid that problem altogether.
I would say that GenG's composition, very tried and true to GenG. This is something that we've already seen a bunch from the Worlds, the priority on the Rumble, strong team fighting. Chovy has something he can side lane on and has agency. FaZe can be that reliable late game carry. They've got transitions from early to mid to late, which just kind of covers all of their bases, and it's a well-rounded comp. FlyQuest, though, coming in with a bit of their originality into this draft.
Absolutely. The last time we actually saw Seraphine mid at Worlds was played by Caps in 2022, so it has been quite a while, really since this champion was first coming on the scene. Excited to see how FlyQuest will perform, and if GenG will look like the absolute dominant team that we are expecting them to.
I'm a little worried about FlyQuest's overall damage output coming into this game, but we'll see if they can make it work. We're jumping into our first game of our final quarterfinal, and all the pressure is on FlyQuest to try and upset the apple cart as the Titans of GenG enter the arena.
And Bedius, if you're talking about the damage potential here on FlyQuest, you've got this top laner in the Galio who can protect a carry. You've got a mid lane facilitator in Seraphine that can enable a carry. You've got an Alistar that can peel for a carry, and that carry's name is Masu. He's been how FlyQuest are winning games. He's had an incredible trajectory from amateur to academy to pro play, now playing on the quarters final stage against what myself and many other people people would consider the best team in the world.
Looking at the team comps, I am super excited to see what FlyQuest is cooking with. As always, mic off. I'll turn the mic back on when I have interesting things to say. Ooh, look at that rock. Can you smell what the rock is cooking?
Prospect, the MVP award in the NACL. This year comes in the LCS. He's Rookie of the Year. He goes to MSI. He goes to Worlds. He wins Summer Split. You can't really do more than that. You can't ask for more than that. And Bwipo here is going to get his ward cleared out, so Keen will have that little bit of an experience advantage.
All right, Bwipo not getting jumped on there. And a reminder, before the action kicks off, log into your Riot account on lolesports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules. As FlyQuest might be looking to earn themselves something here off a potential delayed invade. Hanging out here in this brush, but the ward nearby for GenG is already set.
I wonder if FlyQuest was expecting the lane swap to come through, or if their plan is to initiate the lane swap themselves, because they tracked Lahens and Pays moving towards the top side of the map. And now with this delayed invade, they're looking to try and find a punish onto Canyon, but they're not going to find it.
No, they're actually playing around vision so intelligently. They're going to start topside, and there's no vision on this from GenG. Now Canyon's going to get the news here, and Bwipo's going to try to push him off while we have their jungler actually trying to take the blue buff. Canyon, though, should be able to finish this and then just move across.
Yeah.
Bwipo got 1 CS from that. He did get the 1 little wolf, so a little bit of disruption there. But obviously the hand is now tipped by FlyQuest, and it's up to GenG to show how they want to respond.
Busio hovering around the mid lane to quickly get to that level 2. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, Bwipo is going to join his AD carry. So this is a very traditional approach to the lane swap, making sure that Bwipo can get that level 2, ready for the TP bot, with the idea being that Busio getting level 2 as well can then rotate towards the bot side of the map and then cover for a potential dive. Only level 2 secured for Inspired. The pings are coming through. Busio begins his rotation to bot lane.
And you could notice there that even though Masu was missing a little bit of CS, he's moving forward to deny experience from Keen. They didn't want Keen to get any experience on those extra minions to be able to get level 2 before the wave would crash, to be able to threaten a potential dive. But of course, as you say, Vetty, Busio is moving down towards bot, and Bwipo could look to join if they feel that they can hold at the tower.
Now, Bwipo wants to stay top for as long as possible to get as much XP as possible, because the closer he is to 3, once he TP's in, that means that the fewer minions need to dive in to take over, and he'll be able to get that level up. Keen still being starved of a lot of farm. He wants to go and catch that top wave. And the TP has now been committed bot lane. Bwipo gonna tick over to level 3. Skarner's not in a position to dive. And this is a thing where I think FlyQuest were able to catch GenG off guard, because typically Canyon would do a full clear on the bot side, move into the enemy side jungle, and then set up for the dive on the bot side of the map, with potentially Keen there joining in the exchange. However, Canyon gets interrupted on his wolves. That's where he started, which means that the whole invade onto the bot side is delayed, meaning that Bwipo can now move to his bot side of the map completely uncontested and secure that whole wave.
And I agree completely, and so much of that advantage was gained by the vision play, right? By the avoidance of those GenG wards, by the fact that FlyQuest was stacked in the brush, they see where the ward is, they wrap around into the enemy blue. It's just a really smart early game play, and it has netted them a 300 gold advantage, 200 gold now, but it's not massive, it is significant.
Point is, though, I think that you have to remember that, in my opinion, FlyQuest haven't had the best early game so far in the tournament. It's an area where they've been punished a lot, especially in the series versus HLE. It was an area of massive problems for them.
And even against TL.
They always came back in the mid to late game team fights. You guys have been casting this team all year long. You've seen these opportunities, the way in which they've been able to do that. And FlyQuest are kind of avoiding some of that portion of the early laning phase, finding a very small advantage in terms of how they've executed the lane swap, alleviates a bit of that burden. And quite frankly, I do like the scaling of their composition. The amount of protection and peel they do have for their damage dealers. But I had a question of, will FlyQuest have enough damage? You can throw the other question of, can they get through a Galio and a Seraphine and an Alistar ultimate on the side of GenG?
And I think part of the hope is that if you're diving in onto Masu, onto Quad, that Inspired is making that very difficult for you, that he's going to be power farming, he's going to get to a strong point in the game where he can threaten these members of GenG as they try to bypass him and attack these carries. So we'll have to see, as the wave has been stacked, and it is Bwipo here being covered by Inspired.
Okay,
Canyon's
2 versus
coming
3
as well.
defense right now. Canyon making his way down.
He's going to go back. They're going to call off the dive.
FlyQuest avoided.
Crucially, though, while Bwipo is completely fine here, they've also already got their bot lane on the top side of the map with Grub spawning in a minute's time. Normally it's on this wave that you would consider pushing out and then basing, ready for the swap. So anticipate that as the TP comes through from Keen. means that he's not going to be sticking around on the bot side of the map. And experience is the biggest thing here. Even after catching this wave, Whipple is still going to have about a half a level XP lead over that of Keen.
Exactly, and Whipple here, we'll see if he wants to actually reset and look towards those grubs, but for now it looks like he's just going to continue the push here. And I think FlyQuest, even if they have to give up the grubs, they're going to be pretty happy about how this early game has gone. They've created a nice little advantage in jungle as well as top. Mid and bot, all very, very even. There hasn't really been any disruption to the plan. And I do think FlyQuest's strength has been about understanding their comps, understanding the strengths of the comps, and how to play towards those win conditions. If they feel that they outscale you, they're not going to fight you early. They're just going to sit back and give up small things to try to really wait for their moment.
And I guess the question now that I'm wondering then is when will that moment be? With the grub spawning here in a couple of seconds, it could just be that handshake trade on neutral objectives early that we see a lot of the times. FlyQuest could opt to go for the Drake, but it does look like they're at least putting a couple bodies in the area. GenG first to the grub pit. Canyon will smite grub number 1 to at least guarantee that GenG will get that one, but now Inspired making his way over, and it looks like FlyQuest will maintain control over the topside river. GenG are happy to just take the single grub and back away, so FlyQuest will come out on top in this one.
Now to viewers, it may seem confusing as to why GenG's just backing off of that. They were first in the objective, they had Keen pushing in the top lane, but you gotta remember, Ashe, this early on, contrast to the Jinx, like, FlyQuest have that advantage. So in that isolated 4v4, there are ways in which FlyQuest can actually win out on that skirmish, especially with a Xin Zhao there. Yep. So GenG wisely said, we'll take the single grub, we'll play for the next set of grubs, and we'll concede these for now.
Exactly, and Chovy's down on bot. FlyQuest know he has no TP. They know there's no TP as well from Keen. He was showing up on that top lane, so it is going to be a 3v3 skirmish, and that would have been difficult for GenG. So things going well for FlyQuest, but of course, GenG always so dominant in these 5v5s. They are masters of execution when it comes time for these team fights, and that really is the terror, because you can see how the FlyQuest composition is supposed to work. You absorb the engage, you stifle the engage, and then you turn around the fight. But GenG is so hard to do that against. If they find that picture-perfect engage, get back onto the carries, Equalizer comes in, Chovy is there, everyone is piling in, and you burst down that Ashe, all of a sudden, you have all these pieces that are there to protect something that no longer exists, and the whole thing falls apart.
And it feels like it'll fall apart that much swifter with Jinx in the game. If one of these dominoes on FlyQuest falls over, you trust FaZe to have the mechanics, to have the hands, to immediately pilot that into multiple kills, into enough damage to FlyQuest to take objectives afterwards. I feel like with the game going this slowly early on here, still 0 kills for either side, 8 minutes into the game, not even a fight over that first set of grubs. Once we do get a fight, that first fight is going to determine a lot about the pacing from there.
One of the things I wanted to track of coming into this game that I discussed with you both is how does FlyQuest manage the early game? And 8 minutes in, they've done a great job. GenG was a team that I anticipated would come in right out the gate swinging.
We have a 600 gold lead.
I mean,
on the game too.
I really did think that GenG would just dominate here in the early game, but so far it's been a very slow early game. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean a huge deal for either side. Right now, they're both in a very comfortable spot. FlyQuest have brought their bot lane down, and because of that Ashe, they have Prio. Along with the Xin Zhao, FlyQuest are wisely leveraging the strength that they do have with their AD carry and jungle to play for these early objectives. And that's what you love to see. That's what you want to be seeing from this FlyQuest, playing with confidence, playing with the nameplates off, and treating GenG like any other team.
Okay, also worth noting, Busio now hitting level 6 on the Alistar, as the Hens only just hit level 5 on the Leona. So if we do have a fight sometime soon, if the supports are involved, will be a definitive advantage there for FlyQuest if they can make sure they got the right guys at the scrap.
And it is really interesting, because coming into yesterday's quarterfinals, I was really expecting it to be an absolute brawl, non-stop fighting. I was thinking the pace was going to be very, very high. And this is kind of becoming similar to what that actually ended up being, which is, in reality, a very slow game that raises the importance of that first team fight more and more and more. The longer you get into the game without there being that major team fight, the bigger the rewards are for when you finally win it. If you haven't fought and it's 20+ minutes into the game and you get aced, all of a sudden you lose Baron off the first team fight and the game's just over. So it puts so much pressure on players to really nail it in that moment. If you're skirmishing back and forth nonstop the whole game, you mess up once here, once there, you can maybe make up for that later on. But if your first fight isn't going to be till 3rd Dragon, sometimes you only get one shot.
Ultimately, again, a good move from FlyQuest. Masu moves up towards the top side of the map, ready for that second grubs contest. No first items have been completed yet. GenG, though, in position to try and contest. That level you talked about earlier, Flowers, still no level 6 for Lehens. This should be a big warning signal. He's going to move over to mid to try and catch this wave. This, in theory, is enough XP to help him get that level up. As Chovy takes a bit of a trade against Whippo.
And you can hear the Paris crowd here, you know, erupting into the Let's Go FlyQuest chants and getting behind this final Western team here.
I mean, you got to remember,
couple European players.
Former Fnatic player in Whippo, former Rogue player in Inspired. There's still a lot of hometown heroes.
You've got a European topside.
Yeah.
North America claims the rest.
For sure, for sure. And the Grubs are alive. Let's see the execution. Quad gets the push in mid. Lehens now ticks over to level 6. Both supports just trading for the healing. I've forgotten the words of them now.
Honey fruits.
That's what I'm looking for.
I
Thank
gotcha.
you, Flowers. And here we go.
Okay, FlyQuest are first into the pit, but GenG is ready to respond. Keen over the wall, ready to drop the equalizer if need be.
TP mid.
Canyon ready to start taking aggro here a little bit as the equalizer comes down. Inspired, already gonna lose half HP. Chovy jumps in, not gonna find the charm. Immediately engaged, coming up from Bustio. First blood of the FlyQuest, and Chovy is down. Terrapin ulti roars over the top, and GenG has lost 2 men. FlyQuest just killed 3 of them, and they're gonna hit
What the fuck?
2.
Yo, FlyQuest!
Off the map, crush the first team fight. They get the 4th Grubs, and they didn't even need Whippo. He was pushing mid to actually get the tower damage down, and FlyQuest opened up a massive Game 1 lead.
The target selection was phenomenal. Keep your eyes on Chovy. The TP comes through, but there's that mid lane ward. The mid lane ward spots out Chovy. They turn their attention onto him as he tries to come in for the flank. The Ash arrow will connect. Bustio with the initial knock-up. The chain CC to follow, and the damage from Inspired as Whippo tanks up 3. Flawless execution as they turn onto the rest of GenG. Canyon isn't in range to really contribute to the fight, and that is 4 Grubs for FlyQuest.
And just look at this. I mean, Whippo arrives, taunts 2 people, and just walks straight mid to push in the wave because he knew the team fight had already been won. And look at the FlyQuest staff there. They are popping off.
FlyQuest passed the hands check. Chovy jumps in, Masu sidestepping away from the charm. The rest of the team immediately ready to layer CC onto a target like Ahri that's normally very slippery, very mobile in a team fight.
And it's exciting for me to see Bustio step up in that moment, lands the flash combo onto Chovy, because the story about Bustio for so long in spring finals and going into MSI was, yes, he's good, but in the big moments, he falters. He struggles with nerves. He's not going to be able to play the way that you expect him to. And coming into the summer finals, that was kind of the story as well, but he was able to move past that to showcase that he can play well on those big stages. He wins there. He's been performing solid here at Worlds as well. And so far in game number 1, he steps up in a big moment for them at the Grubs.
What I love about how FlyQuest are playing is, as I mentioned earlier, they're playing with the nameplates off. Right, they're not showcasing this sense of respect. They just do. I mean, they are obviously right.
Not too much respect.
Yeah,
it's just an Ahri.
Exactly. What I mean by that is that they're playing to the strengths of their composition. Every decision that they've made makes sense. They know that Xin Zhao is stronger than that of the Skarner in the early game. They know they win the early skirmishes, and with an Ashe to help support that, they've moved the Ashe around to gain early control over the Grubs and the Dragon. An ulti will come through in a mid.
Quad's in a little bit of trouble here as Lehens jumps in. Canyon over the wall wants to try to join up, but it ain't gonna matter. Lehens is already down, and a beautiful move from Inspired, using the ulti to knock the enemy Skarner back. Now Whippo's ready to make a grand entrance, and he's grabbing a 5th kill of the game for FlyQuest. GenG thought they might have had something, and FlyQuest check him at the door.
A haphazard force from GenG means that FlyQuest get themselves another 2 kills. Lehens tries to force an all-in. Canyon is very slow on the follow-up. Chovy isn't really there, and GenG concede another 2.
Betty, you're talking about FlyQuest, you know, not playing with too much respect. I think it's Lehens not playing with enough respect. Bro maybe has the nameplates on, thinks it's going to be an easy game, and he is over-forcing mid lane there. Misses the ulti on Quad as it was sidestep, still trying to force, ends up getting punished, and what a nice follow-up from Inspired. He dashes past Canyon, not marking him, to use the ulti to knock him back.
This is insane. I've never seen this gameplay from NA before. Maybe we have a chance.
Over the wall, looks for the ulti, but Inspired is right there behind him. Now you see Inspired. Why are we still going forward? We can see that Jinx is coming in, Canyon's over the wall, but he's locked up under the tower, and then watches from Inspired, knocks him back, and then is able to follow up and get this 2nd kill.
I just think it's bizarre. You're going in with a Leona and a Skarner against a Seraphine under turret. I don't even think there's enough damage to force anything. Maybe they're just hoping that Quad is going to panic, waste a summoner spell for no reason. But FlyQuest showing cool heads, responding to GenG, who are just playing abnormally over the top.
And crucially, the gold is where you want it. A 1.2k gold lead in favor of Inspired. He's going to be one of the big damage dealers. He's also going to be your initiator. On the front line, this man is the one that's going to start everything off as the remaining dominoes fall into place. FlyQuest find themselves with a 2k gold lead, a strong early game lead over GenG.
And people talk a lot about, Locket as a strong answer into Rumble. You know what's a really strong answer? The Empowered Seraphine W. That shield gets massive as you get more AP moving further and further into the game. It can really neutralize a lot of that AoE damage that's coming through from the other side. So I do think if GenG are not careful in these next couple fights, they are in a real danger of losing this first game.
Speaking of massive power, we also have the Seraph's Embrace now fully evolved as of a couple seconds ago. Quad going for that first rush. All of the extra mana means you're constantly going to be a support battery with all of that shielding, all of that healing. Also, the fact that you now have the own personal shield to help you survive if they want to try to focus you. Big power spike coming in there for Quad. But the one thing that I want everybody to keep their eyes on, as he just ticks level 11, you can see it on the screen, is Paze's Jinx. He hasn't really been a part of anything yet. The GenG game plan, you're drafting this hyperscaler, hyper carry in the AD position on a guy who can absolutely carry the game, and they're just letting him warm up.
I love how you're still tepid. You don't want to get too excited, Flowers.
It's GenG! But they're 46-3 this year in Series, Benny!
If you turn the nameplates off, they're struggling right now.
Well, Busio's coming in for the wraparound. They want to go after Chovy. They don't find what they're looking for, and FlyQuest might have got a little over-eager. The tier 1 turret still standing as Keen drops the equalizer. Busio's going to be careful of Masu's about to die. He flashes away as Keen wants to chase him down. FlyQuest on the retreat. They nearly toss it away, but GenG won't get a kill. Rift Herald still on the map, 17 minutes into the game, and GenG's gonna head over.
So the priorities there, I think FlyQuest overforced on the mid lane tower. GenG responded very well, reading the play from FlyQuest and responding with 5, leveraging the strength of the tower and the mobility of Chovy to find a re-engage, and even if they don't get any kills, they secure themselves the Rift Herald, which is crucial to help them unlock this mid tower.
And critically, Keen is able to trade his flash for the cleanse and the flash of Masu. So Masu is in so much danger now in this next potential fight. FlyQuest do get the mid lane tier 1, so the trade right now I think is totally fine for them. My big concern is, can they actually fight for the next dragon? Because you would love to go for Mountain Soul, and FlyQuest are in a great spot right now, but if you show up this next dragon in 130 with no summoners on Masu, he is so vulnerable, and I think there's a real opportunity that GenG just wiped that fight.
So I'm going back to what I was saying at the end of the draft, the start of the game. You've got this cannon. You've got Masu on the Ashe. He's stepped up plenty of times for FlyQuest so far this year, and he is rounded out by a pretty incredible cast of supporting characters in an Alistar, in a Galio, in a Seraphine. If he doesn't have his own, oh man, I'm in trouble buttons, everybody else better be using theirs. Because if he falls and Paze gets excited, that's an easy ace for GenG.
There's a bit of a waste of time there from Whippo. He started pathing up towards top, then actually started making his way to move down towards mid. Perhaps he wanted to help guarantee that mid prior, which, because FlyQuest secured that tower earlier, is going to be easier to secure. He's a little late to the wave on top, allowing Chovy to get that initial push out, which means that he can rotate down first. Both have their TP available with 40 seconds on the Dragon. They want Quad to go and push out bot wave, and the vision denial begins from FlyQuest.
Exactly, and it's showing that FlyQuest do want to try to fight for this Dragon. They know if they get Mountain Soul, it's going to be so hard for a composition like GenG. But Masu, as you say, Masu has no cleanse, no flash. Inspired is playing by him, but if they get in onto him, even all the peeling that FlyQuest has available may not be enough. So they have to be really careful about his positioning.
Paze, though, wisely showing respect on the mid wave. The Ashe Arrow, the Seraphine ulti. There are a lot of tools to catch Paze out, even with his cleanse. So he can't really afford to step up on the wave without the rest of his team, who are now arriving. Observers showcase the amount of darkness that GenG see. Lehen's going to be the one to face check.
Yeah, the Leona walks forward. Busio jumps over the wall with a combo as FlyQuest look to put some DPS into Leona, but it ain't going to be enough. A lot of damage back into Inspired. Crescent sweep to barely stay alive.
Oh,
and is down. Whippo over the wall goes in for a massive multi-taunt, and Keen's thrown up into the air. Inspired escapes the death rocket, but now they're dragging FlyQuest back. Bwipo's first to die, and FaZe continues firing, and Chovy wants another. Canyon steers back away as FlyQuest get a 2-for-1.
That is huge for FlyQuest. They're already under the Dragon. They're going to move to Soul Point here. Inspired barely survived, flashing out of the way of FaZe ulti. That surely would have finished him off. The fact that he doesn't go down, the fact that Bwipo gets into the backline puts so much pressure onto GenG, and now it's FaZe with no summoners here. It's FlyQuest moving to Soul Point, and it's FlyQuest really showing their class against the world's best.
It's a high-risk gambit to commit onto the Leona, given how durable she is with the support item, with her W. It's a dangerous play to make, but they commit. They know that it's smart because they have the numbers advantage in this moment. The TP comes in quickly, and at the very last second, the ulti comes out from Inspired, keeping him alive. A nice flash from Bwipo onto the backline, sets up for the chase down.
Exactly, Bwipo gets in the backline, they force out those summoners, and look at the flash from Inspired, dodging out from that ulti from FaZe, or it would have been an early reset. Great ulti from Canyon, though, pulling multiple members in, allows them to get a kill back here. Bwipo feeling it. And when he is having fun, when he is in this kind of mood, that's when he's playing his best.
Bwipo's eyebrows tell the tale of FlyQuest's morale, and it feels like they know what they're doing so far in this first 21 minutes of gameplay in this best of 5. 7-1, 3 Drakes to nothing, 4 Grubs to 2, 2 turrets to nothing. All of the numbers favor FlyQuest at this point in time, but it's still GenG. It is still a team that is absolutely capable of fighting back from a deficit, of finding the right fight, of picking the right moment. And you can see FaZe closing in on his second item here. Chovy just now purchasing the Leandri's Torment for his second item alongside the Malignants. Lots of damage over time there as that Ahri darts around the fights.
Regardless of the outcome of this game, I think that North America should be incredibly happy with what you're seeing on the screen right now. The fact that the expectations around this series was going to be a quick 3-0, another Sunday for GenG, and this is the performance of FlyQuest. They are delivering as they play for the top tower, an uncontested tower, nicely set up, and this is the thing. Discipline is being demonstrated by FlyQuest, and that is what you need against a team like GenG.
And look at all the vision control they're actually setting up around this top side. They're making it very difficult here for GenG as they have this line of pink wards, you know, pink ward there, pink ward there, pink ward behind them as well. They're trying to constantly be able to threaten if there's an overcommitment towards the Dragon. Hey, we could actually trade for a bear, and we're in a position where you get very little for one Dragon, and we could win out big. So FlyQuest playing so well towards their composition, but GenG always has the ability to make magic happen in a team fight, to really flip the game on its head in a matter of a second or two.
Honestly, I feel like that this is more FlyQuest to lose than it is necessarily GenG's to win, and you're completely right. There's always the possibility of GenG finding those windows, finding that angle, but I feel like the FlyQuest, with the composition that they have all the tools they need. It ultimately comes down to this Baron, and in my opinion, the Swiss stage Barons from FlyQuest was one of their best assets.
Oh, don't you be putting that juju on us.
Okay, so the big thing I'm looking at right now, we have 2 minutes until what will be Mountain Soul, if FlyQuest takes it, spawns. You've got the carries on both sides on 2-item power spikes, but in the jungle and in the top lane, there are differences. Riftmaker is done for Bwipo. Inspired has completed Steric's Gauge, but their counterparts on GenG are still working towards those second completions. If GenG can find them in time for this fight, they're going to feel much more confident about trying to stop FlyQuest here for the Soul.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the goal here for GenG has just been making sure that FaZe still has farm, you know, funneling as much as they possibly can into him. He's up to 246 farm. We're only 23.5 minutes into the game. They are getting the Jinx to a strong point. You know, he does have the IE. He has the Kraken. He's trying to get more, and they know they need to be as strong as they possibly can, as you said, before this fight, because if FlyQuest gets Soul, that's very likely the game for GenG.
TP coming in here for FlyQuest's side. Let's see if they really want to make a move.
Bwipo's behind them. Bwipo's behind them.
Using the charm, trying to stop the engage here. FaZe wants to get away. Seraphine ulti flying over the top. Bwipo's trying his way to FaZe, but the Jinx barely gets away. FlyQuest continuing forward, but a nice equalizer from Keen tries to stop him. Canyon shot to pieces, and Bwipo wants more. FlyQuest with a 1-for-0, but that one is the enemy jungler.
A phenomenal flank from Bwipo, almost sets up the kill onto FaZe, but it wasn't quite enough damage. But the damage might be enough as Canyon falls. The Baron is on the cards, and FlyQuest are turning their attention towards it.
Exactly. They don't get FaZe, but they do get Canyon. 20 seconds now with no jungler here. Chovy in the area, but I don't think they have the tools to contest. There's no equalizer. They're coming anyway.
The only ulti left on GenG is Pays with a Super Mega Death Rocket. There is no Spirit Rush. There is no equalizer. Whippo looking to wrap around GenG as they come to try to challenge for the Baron. Keen on the back side of the wall, but immediately Bussio's going in to try to stop him. FlyQuest making their move. Whippo's into the back line. They found Pays, but there's no follow-up. Bussio's already dead, and Whippo goes to rejoin the rest of the team. FlyQuest will claim the Baron, but they have to trade Busio for it. So GenG will now get the tier 1 turret mid and stop the Soul as a response.
Busio will pay the ultimate price, but it is a price worth paying. The Baron secured. FlyQuest, they will concede the Dragon, but it doesn't matter. That is bounties that GenG have to claim against FlyQuest, who are dominating in this first game.
They are, but that's 2 bounties that they're going to be able to actually pick up here. And the question is, how much can FlyQuest get with this Baron? Because there is a cost to the sacrifice you've made here. You gave away Soul, but they're going to go for a long chase potentially. You can see Inspired is trying to wrap around Chovy.
Inspired has Masu with him here as well. Canyon securing the red buff as Inspired and Masu are trying to cut off the GenG mid. Chovy forced to use the Spirit Rush to get away, but it is enough to guarantee his safety as FlyQuest have all 5 men back on the map, 4 of them wearing Baron, but that Baron power play is already in negative gold. Lehens regrouping with Pays back here in the mid lane as FlyQuest maintains control over the red side jungle of GenG.
Exactly. I'm not really sure that going for Baron there was the correct choice. You could have taken the guaranteed Soul that's there for the rest of the game, and instead they go for the Baron. If they don't get a ton with this, that's 3 bounties that were given over off of the lost fight because they had to sacrifice Busio. They need to push the pace. They need to get so much with this Baron, or it really wasn't worthwhile.
All right, FlyQuest forces down the tier 2 turret here in the bottom lane. That would be the first tier 2 turret they claim this game, but the trade for GenG has been all 3 tier 1s on the FlyQuest side. It's still about a total of negative 2,000 gold on that Baron take overall, since the objective itself gives you the plus 1,500. FlyQuest will see what else they can do. They've got 75 seconds left on the buff.
I mean, great observation, Azael. Like, the fact that FlyQuest, even with the Baron, end up with a negative Baron power play just goes to show the macro awareness of GenG. Sure, we ended up conceding that objective, but getting the bounties, unlocking all of the outer towers, there was a lot of standing gold ready for them to grab, and unfortunately FlyQuest weren't able to convert it into as much as they would have liked. Now the good news is, oh, hang on.
Now, Busio and Lehens getting into a little bit of a scrap. Whippo's here to help. FlyQuest bringing in more assistance as GenG does not want to overcommit to a fight here. They know there's only 45 seconds left on the Baron.
Yeah, the good news is that FlyQuest still healthy gold lead and still have a bit of the Baron. Let's see if they can siege onto this tier 2.
All right, GenG in a defensive position. Busio over the wall as equalizer used by Keen to try to clear out the wave, keep this turret standing. Only 25 seconds left on the Baron buff for FlyQuest, and GenG will hold the line at the tier 2 turret.
And at the end of the day, it ends up being really good for GenG. You know, this Baron power play did nothing for FlyQuest. It's very unfortunate for them. You know, had they gone for Dragon, you don't have to necessarily sacrifice Busio, and I don't think GenG gets so much tempo on the map. The objective bounty's doing so much work for GenG in this situation. It has really pulled them right back into the game, because now you're going to be at 3 items here on your major carries, very likely coming into this next Dragon fight, whereas FlyQuest could have just taken Soul pretty much for free, and I think set them up for almost a guaranteed win in the rest of the game.
I will say, though, that GenG have not shown us a single good team fight so far in this game, and I think that's because FlyQuest have always been the ones to initiate. They're the ones in the driver's seat when it comes to actually starting the play. GenG, if they can find purchase on this next Dragon, if they can be the ones to find that initiation, whether it be the Leona ultimate, Chovy finding a good flank, maybe a good Skarner ulti, that could be the turning point to swing the game back in GenG's favor.
And the spawn timers on these neutral objectives are pretty close. This always creates a very chaotic map state where the smallest of decisions can have the largest of impacts on the game. The Dragon will spawn, and just 30 seconds later, Baron will once again be live on the map.
I mean, we haven't talked about it much this game, but Chovy is continuing to Chovy. 296 CS at 29 minutes. He has a 1.1k gold lead over Quad, who's primarily been grouping with his team, while Chovy has been playing through the sidelines. Void Staff now secured for him means that in terms of itemization, the carries are pretty equal.
They absolutely are, right? It's just that topside advantage now for FlyQuest that is evened out somewhat by Chovy's edge. You know, Quad's job here is that kind of a very fed support almost. You know, you get to the later stages of the game, you can do a lot of damage, but he needs to be with the carries. He needs to be protecting them. You can't really be sitting in the side lane and farming it up as a Seraphine. So now this Dragon becomes all important here for FlyQuest. We'll see if they can get a proper setup and claim the Mountain Soul, where Ahri then, where the Equalizer as well, struggles that much more with all the shielding plus the Mountain Soul.
The pressure is on with 45 seconds to go until the 5th Drake of the game spawns. FlyQuest wants to maintain control over this bot side river as GenG are grouping up in mid, trying to get the wave shoved out. And then they'll have to approach. As now over the wall, Chovy gonna get grabbed. The Seraphine ulti flies out, but Chovy's able to dodge away. Now Busio continuing to move forward as Canyon survives. No real sincere pressure on GenG. It's the Seraphine ulti of Quad. It's that arrow from Masu, but Chovy's ult is the price GenG has to pay for it.
He has to spend his flash as well, so now Chovy no flash, no ulti. You know, it could be worth it for this next fight, though.
Whippo going in, looking for a taunt, but he's not going to find it. Would have only been Canyon and Lehens anyway, the tanky members of the GenG squad. FlyQuest and GenG still staring each other down. Keep your eyes on Lehens. The Leona is the engage here for GenG as FlyQuest make their way into the bot side river. They're going to go ahead and start that Drake up. It's already down to half HP. Canyon's getting zoned out. Equalizer into the back line as Quad sidesteps away from the solar flare. Dragon still the focus coming out from FlyQuest. The troll is secured. And now they're turning it right back on the Lehens and Canyon. The Leona tries to flash away, but it ain't going to work. Masu chases him down. Busio trying to keep going forward with Whippo as they lock up the carries. They beat down Pays. And GenG falls. Chovy trying to hold the line, trying to buy time, but it costs a hell of a lot. And FlyQuest are barreling towards the base. A beautiful stop on the recall from Masu.
What a fight from FlyQuest.
I would have never imagined if FlyQuest had a dominant win against
under its weight.
Solo laners versus FlyQuest. Keen and Chovy trying to hold on, but another Seraphine ulti flies out, and Chovy drops dead. Keen pushes forward and finally claims Busio, but it's only a 1-for-1. Game number 1 is about to end as FlyQuest.
Hell yeah. Alright, we'll be back for game number 2 in just a second. Alright, here we go. Game number 2, as promised. Just gameplay. No blah blah blue music.
We're cooking.
Woo! What the fuck is this draft? We got Nunu, we got Cassidy, we got Diddley. Hey yo, we are eating well tonight.
Like, it's been a while. The game's a little different since back then.
Things have changed.
And I mean, we've seen Chovy's Cassidy before, but as Azael was saying, like in this composition, the laning phase is going to be rough. It's a very powerful scaling pick. You know the chat is doing that stare emoji, looking at the clocks, waiting for level 16. But in this composition, I think it's going to be a tough one to execute.
Absolutely. You know, I'm a little bit nervous for GenG, and I didn't think I'd be saying that. The last time Cassidy was picked at Worlds, we seem to be doing a lot of this because we're getting a lot of new champions, was actually in Worlds 2021. Showmaker picked it, and he won with the champ. But I am a little bit nervous for GenG. You know, yes, they are GenG. Yes, they are still massive favorites, even with the Game 1 loss. But Cassidy and Nidalee Jax feels really hard to execute in an era that is dominated by these super objectives that just kind of force you to group and fight, or you lose the game.
Well, it looks like GenG is once again saying, FlyQuest, your weakness has been the early game. We don't think you can punish well enough. We're gonna go for scaling, and it'll be up to FlyQuest to answer that challenge as we're onto the Rift for game number 2 of the series, and GenG is posturing to move into the FlyQuest jungle.
I mean, GenG is anticipating a lane swap. The Ezreal and the Rakan want to get out of the 2v2 against the Ashe Nautilus. So they're setting up information in FlyQuest top side. They're trying to scout out, where is this Ezreal? What are you guys up to? They'll largely just gain control over the top side river. FlyQuest not really going to concede any information. The Ezreal is sneaking his way up into the top lane. The old school plan that you would use is dropping a ward in the top lane to see if the AD carry is heading up there. but they have no read. Bwipo happy to stick around the top side of the map because he's going to be sharing farm alongside Masu and expect Busio to hover around mid, as now the split map will come through from GenG.
Oh, but GenG are going to re-invade again, so Inspired swap sides because he's saying, all right, you're going to be invading on there, but that's spotted as well. So this is actually crazy how much movement on the map there is being. You know, you can see Inspired, he's actually having to start his Wolves, and he's going to have to leash them and pull up towards that top side, because it's going to be him getting harassed on this camp.
And this is what we saw in game one, but from the other side, right? This is what we saw Bwipo doing, harassing Canyon when he was on that Skarner. And it looks like Inspired, yeah, he's going to not secure the entirety of the camp here.
But still, that's really good for Inspired because he stole one camp from his weak side, right? That's the side of the map that you're not actually supposed to have access to. So the fact that he does actually get that is going to be really nice.
Well, there are pros and cons. One of the downsides, Busio finds a nice little knock-up onto Chovy. Chovy's going to lose a lot of HP here. Busio's sweeper didn't actually spot out any of the vision on the top side jungle, which means that Canyon still has information as to where Inspired is on the map right now. Securing those Raptors, moving up towards Krugs. Canyon going to be getting level 3 of securing his Raptors now, and this means that the bot side dive is very real. Busio ticked over to level 2. Inspired's going to be spotted out by the Ashe E. Bwipo level 2 as well. And now keep your eyes on Canyon on the minimap. Level 3 secured, sets his sights on the bot side of the map, and here's the potential TP into dive.
All right, we'll see how that works out. Inspired going after enemy blue buff here.
But no, there's no dive once again. FlyQuest are going to be uncontested. Keen going to be sitting pretty comfortable on the top side of the map as well.
I mean, Bwipo got 3, right? So he got almost all the way there. 1 or 2 minions die after he TPs. He's level 3. That is a very hard dive against that level 3 Renekton who's full HP. There's no chunk on him. There's no chip on him. And again, FlyQuest are playing the lane swap out very, very well. They haven't created those same gold advantages that they were able to get in the last game, but Chovy's not going to be having fun in the early stages of this matchup. He is going fleet, very likely resolve secondary. Yes, of course he is resolve secondary, so he has second wind, he has fleet, he has that D-shield.
2v2 here in the bottom lane though, as Bwipo down to 300 HP. Lehends dropping the ignite on the FlyQuest top laner. And remember that Bwipo had to already use the teleport for the lane swap scenario, so it's not so easy for him to go back and heal, get back into this lane in a better state, as Quad tries to keep the pressure on Chovy early. This is paramount that this never lets up.
Exactly, you have to be non-stop, getting every single auto attack in that you can, harassing this guy constantly, as Canyon is going to make this so difficult. They're going to go for the dive.
3v2 dive from GenG. Lehends going to lead the way. Bwipo trying to stay alive. He's barely hanging on as he flashes out. Page trying to chase him down. It's first blood back over to the Ashe. Busio still wants to get one back, but he doesn't have the damage. The Riptide slows him down, and GenG get the first blood.
Nicely executed dive, and it's ultimately a misplay from Bwipo. Chovy getting very low, forced a flash in the 1v1. Remember, coming into this, Quad wanted to show Chovy how much he's grown, and I feel like Chovy is experiencing that development from Quad, but we've got to go back to the bot side of the map because Bwipo took a bad trade against Pays and Lehends. That meant that he ended up losing about half his HP and wasn't able to get the level up. This was the go signal for Canyon, knowing that, hey, stuck underneath your tower, my spears are going to do a ton of damage, and even if he didn't connect them, the pressure was enough to secure first blood.
FlyQuest are looking to try to threaten a dive. If he continues to stay, Busio's wrapping around behind him. Remember, there's no flash. He could look for this.
They're letting that recall run down.
Here we go.
Busio wants to go for the dive. This will be pretty important here for FlyQuest. Knock up onto Chovy. Not enough damage to take him down, and now Busio's Cougar food. Canyon shows up for a punish, and GenG are looking scary in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, Canyon, right place, right time. Once again, gets down bot lane after Bwipo took that bad trade that video is talking about, and gets that kill there. Then is there on the counter gank, and now Bwipo getting pushed out.
Oh, Bwipo went back for the Call of the Meek. Pays just chasing him down, shot after shot after shot. Bwipo barely gets away.
Ashe against Renekton, you're seeing some of the struggles that a Renekton can have, how easily you can get kited, but GenG looking a lot more confident here in this early game. A much bigger gold lead gained already, with Canyon securing an early kill too. GenG off to the races here in game 2.
This is massive for them, right? You know, it's actually FlyQuest that were up a significant amount of gold after the lane swap in game number 1, and now they are really on the back foot. They are not out of it just yet, of course. But here is this one more time. There was no ignite on Busio, and Quad is pretty low on mana, hasn't actually paced, so just doesn't have enough damage to actually get through it. With the fleet, plus the Q shield as well that's coming out there from Cassidy, is able to survive. Canyon shows up, cleans up a kill, and is definitely going to be feeling much better about his position this game.
And now let's look at the overall consequences, because when we get back into game, you're going to notice a 2-level difference between the two top laners. And Bwipo's going to be struggling in a matchup that's typically winning for the Renekton early on. Canyon, along with the advantage that he's been able to gain early, secures the third grub buff. And FlyQuest, they're kind of forced to trade. I think wise at this point when you don't have the same strength in your bot lane 2 versus 2. But you're seeing the difference and the power of Ashe in the early game and what she's capable of.
I mean, look at the EXP difference between the top laners. Bwipo just ticked over to level 5. Keen is halfway to level 7. And we're talking about a Jax that you already mentioned it back in draft, Isaac, will be a menace in the 1-3-1 as the game goes on.
Exactly. I mean, Renekton, it's more about, dominating the early game in the lane, being a bully, and then showing up to these team fights and being strong there. We've seen Bwipo play around this pick so well. It constantly gets banned against him because he uses the Steric Spike so well on this champion to soak damage, to create space for his carries. But when you're put this far behind, you're going to get run over in the 1v1, and you're not going to get to those core items that you need to really be tanky enough in the 5v5.
Canyon trying to steal away the blue buff from the FlyQuest side. He's got backup from Pays in the hands, but Inspired better on the smite to steal that one away and tick level 6.
I mean, the gobble from Inspired, assisted alongside the smite, means that no buff will be lost. And FlyQuest find themselves at about a 1.5k gold deficit. The biggest problem I find for FlyQuest is that they keep trying to return to standard lanes so that Bwipo can lane into Keen. But GenG won't give it to them. They're constantly swapping Pays around the map to match this Ashe into the Renekton, starving him of more experience, and Masu really can't bully Keen on this Ezreal.
Oh, Masu getting grabbed by the dredge line, but nicely used there with the arcane shift to buffer through the grab. As Chovy here in mid lane might just find himself on the receiving end of a snowball, but considering he's level 7, he can still buffer through that knockoff. But nice shockwave coming out from Quad. Surely they get this kill. No way, Chovy just made him look foolish.
The magic shield on the Kassadin meant that he was able to tank up the damage. The null magic mantle in his inventory as well, doing so much work. FlyQuest just lacking the damage to finish off the kill.
And that was so close. He was down incredibly low, but not getting that kill is devastating. Kassadin now ahead of the Orianna. And this is not going to be good here for FlyQuest. We'll see if they can make something happen on bot side, but now Busio in trouble.
Busio already having to back away as he misses his grand entrance, gets locked up, loses half HP to the fire of Pays. This early game is going beautifully for GenG, not just with the plays that they are making, but the way that they're responding to the attempts FlyQuest is bringing as Bwipo going in against Keen, needs to try to lock him down here for Inspired to show up in time. That snowball needs to make its way into the Jax, but it ain't gonna collide in time as Canyon now shows up. Keen still feeling fine. GenG are loving these first 9 minutes of play.
GenG with a 1.5k gold lead. The gold lead hasn't really expanded that much, but as Azael highlighted, you look at the bottom of your screen and the gold is going to all the right people. A 30 CS lead for Keen with a 600 gold lead. That's 2 kills without him even having any. Can with a gold lead over the Nunu, and crucially Kassadin with a gold lead as well.
Exactly, and when you can get through these early levels as a Kassadin, these kind of matchups, you get to the Catalyst, you get to the tier, you have a null magic mantle, and all of a sudden you're not running out of mana and you can't really be pressured out of lane, and that's where things start to get very difficult for the Orianna because you have more sustain, you have these shields that you can use on trades, and then as long as you have information on where the FlyQuest members are, you can actually start getting aggressive, shifting in with the ultimate, starting to really take over in that 1v1, and just making it a nightmare for Quad.
Yeah, I mean, the problem for FlyQuest is going to be who actually deals with the Kassadin. They really don't have the lockdown required as Keen.
Yeah, I don't think they have anything for the Jax here either, as Keen is about to win a 1 versus 2. Inspired again showing up just a little bit too late to really make a lot happen. Keen thinking about turning around, maybe trying to finish off Bwipo there, as Inspired on the Nunu. There's no way to have any threat without help there onto the Jax. And meanwhile, since the enemy jungler's bottom lane, it means free grubs for Canyon up in the top side of the river. 6 grub game for GenG.
I mean, Inspired is forced to help his top lane and push out this wave. Bwipo is really struggling in the 1v1. He's the one that's paid the biggest price in terms of how the early game lane swap has panned out. And very wisely, GenG took advantage of the Ashe pick to just bully out Bwipo. And I think already in this series, we're seeing the value of Ashe and how much advantage it gives you in the early game.
All right, Lehens and Pays just keeping the pressure on here in the top lane. We still have 3 minutes left for GenG to use these early advantages they've built to mine some more money from turret plates. Whippo's gonna try to get a little bit back, taking out this first plate down here, but as soon as Keen's back in the lane, this Lizard has to get the hell out of town.
Yeah, it's time to leave. I mean, he's down 30 CS at this point. You know, you said it, Betty, he was the big loser in the lane swaps. You know, that dive put him so far behind because there was no real pressure being put on Keen. You know, that's the difficulty in this situation is Pays gets a first blood. He gets a kill there. Chovy's now been put ahead as well. FlyQuest are really struggling to find any purchase in this game. And when you look back towards that previous Nunu game, it was Inspired getting so much done. This time, his ganks just haven't really been able to find any effect.
Oh, they found an effect, all right. Chovy got a kill on Kassadin at level 7. That's exactly what GenG wanted to see, as Canyon is now looking to repeat his success here on these Nidalee ganks. Keen flashing forward for the stun with a counter-strike, needs a little bit more damage to kill off Whippo, but the Croc survives. Canyon will not be able to complete the job. Whippo surviving on a knife's edge to get the first kill of the game for FlyQuest.
Okay, a little bit of hope there for FlyQuest, surviving in that 1v2 as GenG go too far, and Whippo just keeps the minions between him and Canyon the whole time. Canyon can never find an angle to actually get the spear, even when Keen lands the stun. And Whippo holds his stun for after the counter-strike is down, locks him up under the tower, gets the kill. Really well played by Whippo.
A rare fumble from Canyon as he throws his Q, it hits the minion, and then he smites it. The idea being that he smites the minion first, then it goes through, and the Q is able to connect. But a bit of an execution error comes through from Canyon, and they're able to, I mean, Whippo ultimately finds the outplay. Now, that is insanely good for Whippo, because it immediately claws back a lot of the gold deficit that he found himself in. It doesn't really change the game state, though, in that Chovy is about to hit level 11. All of chat is patiently looking at that clock, getting scared and scared as that timer gets closer to level 16.
Yeah, I will say, I do think, as much as people talk about Kassadin as late game beast, we'll see if Whippo can get out of this.
Lehens with the dredge line, Whippo in trouble, arrow from downtown. The Renekton still in danger, trying to slice and dice his way out of trouble, but Canyon's got the kill secured. GenG claim 1, but a teleport's ready to try to get something in response. Quad shows up, trying to put the damage into Pays, but he flashes back over the wall to get away, and the shockwave is an airball. Nothing else for FlyQuest yet, as Lehens is now the target, and Inspired cuts off his escape. FlyQuest making an even trade 1-for-1, and Inspired wants to grab the Drake after.
You're right, Flowers, it's a 1-for-1, but look at the mini-map. Mid is being pushed in, top is being pushed in, the Dragon will be conceded as Canyon. The overstaying is welcome.
Yeah, Quad's still chasing after him here, but there is Pays to provide a little bit of extra peel. FlyQuest don't have the lockdown or the damage to complete the kill on the enemy jungler, so it will be Drake secured here for Inspired.
Drake is nice, but they're going to be way happier about the gold they get onto the Kassadin here on the top side. He's going to get solo gold on that tower, and it's a first tower going over to this Kassadin that's already ahead of the pace. Now he's up 1.3k gold. Chovy just got paid.
And you saw the gold at the top of the screen. 250 gold worth of plates for FlyQuest. 1,125 gold in plates for GenG. Their early game has been incredible. There's your MasterCard lane economy snapshot, and it is just a solid ocean of blue. Every single member of GenG ahead of their FlyQuest counterpart.
The Herald is now alive, and I feel like GenG can feel confident enough to force a fight. All of their first major items are completed. You look across the board, only Marsu's Trinity Force is finished, which means in terms of item spikes, FlyQuest is in no position to force a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very difficult for FlyQuest, and when they do take that fight, if you lose it, the game is likely to get fully out of reach. GenG already really running away with this one. This was more the expectation for the series. Game 1, FlyQuest showed up looking amazing, but Game 2, it's GenG who played the lane swap better, who created the advantages, and have been slowly pushing that forward further and further and further, as Chovy now stacking up the row, already up to those 3 stacks, and is going to have that Archangels pretty soon as well.
Exactly. He's picking not just the scaling champion, but the super scaling build. He's heading straight for raid boss tier, and I don't see who on FlyQuest has the gear to clear him. He's just in such a good spot. Only 15.5 minutes into the game, and GenG has now gotten all 3 of the Baron Pit objectives in the early game uncontested.
I mean, the reality is the only person who's going to have a shot at doing it. Oh,
that was so close. If that hits quad, he is in some serious trouble, and he might still be. Chovy chasing after him there, but will not find enough damage for a kill.
Yeah, critically the arrow misses. He is going to be able to survive as a result. If we're going to see Inspired looking mid.
Finds a knock-up onto Pays, but Canyon's here to peel for his AD carry. Redemption summoned up. Inspired just shot to pieces. GenG grabbing 1 kill already, and Canyon ain't gonna drop. Pays finding the DPS in this one as Keen's ready to jump in to make it 3. A triple kill for the GenG marksman. Those arrows fly straight.
Pays with phenomenal footwork, dancing his way around the fight, dodging the knockup from Busio, and then re-engaging off the back of the damage from the tower and Canyon. GenG putting their foot down and looking to crush the hopes of FlyQuest here in game 2.
Yeah, they're running away with this second game. It's looking like it's going to be a tied-up series. And let's not kid ourselves, there was no way GenG would ever go down without a fight, and we might see Whippo going down too.
I think it's more than a maybe, Mr. Azael. I think Whippo is out of there. They'll give the kill over to Chovy on the Kassadin. 2, 0, and 1 as we take another look at what happened with this play mid lane where Inspired went too far and learned the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. Inspired, nice sidestep on the spear, but tries to pull back, has taken so much damage from the tower. Canyon goes in, the flash comes back, but it's Whippo, arriving, he's not able to arrive, from that top lane. It's Keen coming in with the TP. It wasn't able to be stopped. He arrives. There's no chance of the fight after that. Busio couldn't hit the knockup on either the Ashe or the Canyon Nidalee. Wasn't able to even get the 1 kill.
The locket from Lahen's doing so much work as well as we turn our attention to live.
Chovy in a 1v2, and he doesn't seem pressured at all. Busio and Quad without the damage to really threaten this guy. The arrow flies in from all the way up in the river, and now it's Busio under pressure. Shockwave hits both GenG players, but what's it gonna matter? They get the kill on the support, and they force the flash at a Quad as well. GenG, they made some overeager plays in game 1, but here in game 2, they are playing to their limits, and they are crushing FlyQuest.
I mean, they just have so much gold at this point, and the problem with the composition of Fly is it's not matching up well to what GenG have. They're losing in the isolated 1v1s. They don't have the damage to get the hook. Connects.
Lahen's connects onto the turret, and it sets up Pays to just keep firing. Unstoppable. 5, 0, and 2 here for the Ashe as Canyon throws the spear back over the wall. Whippo's coming in on the flank, looking to lock up Pays, who pops the cleanse, getting away from the Croc, trying to kite it out, but Whippo takes him down. 1 for 1 though, as Inspired is also going to drop with Lahen's falling. You can see an ultimate 2 for 1 trade for FlyQuest side as they still continue going forward, looking maybe for Canyon, but it ain't gonna happen.
I mean, FlyQuest, they're going down, but they're going down swinging. Masu, no way out.
No, not from that Kassadin. Chovy is on a rampage. 2 items fully completed. Seraph's fully stacked. Farm at Chovy levels. It's feeling good.
The terrifying thing is Chovy doesn't even have the Malignance yet, and that's only going to make things even worse for FlyQuest. The 3rd dragon of the game will be denied from FlyQuest. Soul Point will not be given to them as an option, and I feel like it's going to take a genuine miracle for FlyQuest to turn this around, because the problem with FlyQuest is they don't have anyone to match Chovy in the 1v1. You could argue that maybe Whippo can hold Keen in the side lane, or maybe he can hold the Kassadin, but that means that FlyQuest is forced to group because they have to keep the Orianna together. So you're always going to get split up on the sides. GenG can always force a skirmish, and in every skirmish scenario, FlyQuest always lose.
Exactly. I mean, it's so tough. If you can't win 5v5 and you can't win sides, you can't win League of Legends.
Well, they're going for the 3v1 play against Keen, but he's buying enough time. Pays arrow isn't going to hit the target. Keen is down. FlyQuest commit enough players to get the kill on the Jax.
I just love, though, that Inspired is continuing to force these plays. FlyQuest know you can't just sit back and wait for them to scale, wait for them to crush you through the side lanes. You've just got to keep looking for fights. Overload one side, look for a pick, do it again and again and again and again. It's your only chance to win this game. Even if it is that 1% chance, they're going to go for it. And the redemption rush here from Inspired, I think, is actually really intelligent. It is making a big difference in some of these fights.
I completely agree with you, Azael, especially given that now FlyQuest are pushed back to their tier 2 towers and the bot lane, the tier 3. GenG, it's harder to cross map because now they have to push deeper to be ready to punish that overstack on the side of FlyQuest. So you're completely right that the best case scenario for FlyQuest is just keep overstacking one side, wait for someone to overextend, and Keen will be an easier target to lock down than Chovy as he finds himself 2 levels away from level 16.
Exactly. We are entering the 14th day. 2 days remain until the end of days for FlyQuest in this second game. If it's already difficult, it will become impossible once Chovy hits that spike. There's the Malignance that you mentioned, Vedius, going to give him all that extra ability haste. All GenG has to do is enable him. And we're just talking about one guy. Let's not forget Pays, 5-1 and 2 on the Ashe, having an amazing game here so far. We've talked already in this game about the early power, the early presence this champion has, and it's night and day compared to the Jinx that was so inactive in game 1.
Absolutely, and this is what people have come to expect from Pays. This guy has leveled up time and time again. He is such an impressive player. FlyQuest looking for a potential fight, but aren't going to be able to find it. I mean, Pays has just been rock solid for this team. If you get him into a good spot, he is going to dominate the team fights. He's going to dominate the game. And Chovy knows that he's just going to run the side lanes here.
And every time you see Chovy jumping on someone, there's always an Ashe arrow coming along with him to try to guarantee that he has the opportunity to get that kill. He will not kill Whippo up there on the top side, but he takes him solo.
And he gets the Sterix pop, which is actually really big.
Oh, Busio jumps in through the Hex Gate, and immediately Lehens and Canyon are ready. The Rakan does escape, but this is just the confidence GenG are playing with. Look at the wards, man. It's a damn Christmas tree, and GenG are the ones sending gifts.
I mean, GenG are making a statement after game 1. They are absolutely dominating. Masu slightly oversteps, and Chovy sees an angle.
Chovy not afraid to continue going forward. Inspired the target down to about 1/4 HP. Heals up a little bit with the chomp. Redemption keeping him alive. Busio fires back on in with the quickness, but Chovy's so tanky. GenG's so far ahead. Whippo's going to be your target here next as the shockwave doesn't do much. Pays getting the kill on Whippo. GenG just cutting them down like flies. Another triple for Pays as Quad is the only one left standing. GenG 4 for nothing. Baron's coming up next.
And GenG.
And hey, what happened?
Flames of hope here for FlyQuest. Quad's gonna go down as well. You have to think, no.
Keen ultimately dies to the turret. He nearly killed the turret to stay alive there, but just barely drops at the end. Pays his arrow, ends up baiting Keen to his death. But the remaining 4 players of GenG will enjoy a nice new purple coat as Baron drops 23 minutes into the game and the gold lead crests 10,000 for GenG.
I mean, time's up for FlyQuest. GenG are just running the rift right now. We look back at the fight and it starts with Masu. I mean, it's unfair to say that he's overextended here, but he is. He can't even approach his tier 1 tower. Chovy's just playing with his food at this point. Look at how durable he is with the amount of shielding coming out from the locket, the amount of resistances that the champion has. Lehens is the only one going to get hit by the shockwave. As good positioning there from GenG, and then they turn it into a cleanup. Yeah. The only thing was the bit of a bait, as Flowers highlighted. The Ashe arrow connects, and he thinks, oh, maybe this is a kill. But I mean, Whippo recognizes it's okay. It's best of 5. It's totally fine to drop a game here or there.
Yeah, I mean, Whippo definitely having a laugh, but Masu looking very different there on cam, looking very frustrated with how things have gone in this game. Hasn't really had much of an in so far in the game, as it felt like mostly it was decided before we ever really got to team fights, and that can be that situation that sometimes AD carries find themselves in, where your job is to kind of farm it up, and sometimes by the time you got the items, the fighting's already done.
I mean, it's the exact opposite story of game 1. Now that we're 2 games into this series, and this one is essentially done except for walking it to the Nexus for GenG, both AD carries have had a game where they were on the Ashe, they were in the driver's seat, and they were determining how this game would be played, while the other guy was sitting back saying, all right, boys, I hope I get 5 items. It feels like this Ashe is going to remain the highest of priorities in this series if it's determining this much.
And that's why it's so interesting, because FlyQuest is one of the few teams that often prefers red side. You know, they're one of the only teams that will lose a game and actually pick red side over blue side, which is kind of almost blasphemy. But, you know, will that change going into game 2?
Pays putting some damage into Inspired here as Chovy is ready to approach from the flank. Level 17 Kassadin, fully ready, fully locked and loaded. Those 3 items fully complete alongside an unbroken arm.
Very scary.
He is fearless in this game state.
I mean, he has nothing to be afraid of.
More damage than Kassadin did with 2 turret shots.
To really support any play they want to make. It's simply a matter of time for GenG as the base continues to experience the siege. Level 14 now for FaZe, pushing bot, pushing mid. The Baron power play nearing 3,000. As FlyQuest are very quickly running out of options.
Yes, the tier 3 turret in mid lane, now about to fall. GenG forcing the issue. Lehens with a flash over the wall, going in for the dredge line, ain't gonna find it. Inspired, having to pop the ult for the shield to stay alive. Redemption here too. Mid lane inhibitor already down. Bottom lane, the next target. Keen just set it up perfectly with the timing on the wave, and now Bwipo will get locked up and shot down. Sterix will not keep him alive long enough, and GenG will not be stopped. Busio drops next, and the remaining 3 FlyQuest players fall back to the last bastion of the Nexus turrets, but FaZe will not stop. He continues leading the charge, and Chovy's dominating. Another dredge line misses, but it won't matter. Quad and Masu trying to stay alive, but a step outside of the fountain steps is certain death. GenG clear the Nexus turrets. FlyQuest head back into their base. It's a tied series. GenG take game 2.
All right, that's game 2. We're gonna pause real quick. I'll be back with game number 3. All right, let's look at the draft for game number 3. We got Bwipo on Urgot. Oh, Chovy on Silas. And Quad on Kai'Sa. That's not bad. There's not that many great ults for Chovy to take, but the Rakan ultimate, Rakan's ultimate has nice AP scaling. So just gonna let you know that it's gonna chunk. Anyways,
block so much of that damage.
Let's get into the game.
She has a for the
Top side with the Sejuani pairing nicely along.
Defending world champions,
It's
and then
it's
BLG.
so free. Acknowledges and respect. He has to cover the top. Can
And Bwipo
follow up from is always going to be somewhat under the bit.
coming into this.
All right, here we go.
Of all-time games, North America versus Korea. It's like 15 to 85 favoring Korea. So we'll see.
More about the quality of games than the quantity.
Well, we
They were
definitely
15
didn't have the
really
quantity.
good,
Okay.
really good games.
Well, hey.
Those 85 games, those were like no-name brand. Those were nice games.
Well,
Who cares
FlyQuest
about those
added
games?
another one to the total here to kick off
That was
this
a
series.
pristine game.
We'll see if game number 3 can be another tally there on that long, long road to redemption for North America against Korea at international competition. FlyQuest, they've got control over the mid lane here nice and early as Quad will crash the wave into Chovy's turret, but it's Lehens and FaZe getting the early push in bottom lane as Bwipo with that Urgot, very, very deadly in the 1v1's top side, so controlling that push as well.
And I really want to see what Inspired can get done because you have the push in mid, you have the push in top, and that gives him some more freedom to move around the map here. Quad slowly chipping away on Chovy. Did take one tower shot, and really that's only the return damage he has taken. But bot lane, it has been all GenG pushing in. You can see they're stacking up this huge wave, and they're going to look for a dive here. This would be devastating if FlyQuest died.
Masu and Busio, they got to play this one right. Canyon going in. They already popped the heal at the very start from GenG. Busio taking a ton of damage here. Canyon's getting locked up. Lehens eats another turret shot as Bwipo goes forward. Canyon's still trying to get away. The Urgot not going to get a kill on anybody as now Bwipo's in danger. FaZe shifts forward. Busio and Masu still fighting, still firing. Double knockup. First blood over to Masu. Double kill over to Masu. FlyQuest, play it better.
What a counter engage there from Busio, punishing the shift from FaZe.
The TP defense from Bwipo. What a god!
You had to think he went too far, but FlyQuest in the 3v3 make it happen, and the wave is being pushed towards Busio, and it's slow stacking, so Bwipo can get back up there and catch us. Let's watch it one more time.
So the commitment from Canyon was way too deep, like he's stuck underneath the tower. Chain CC, they don't quite have the damage, and he's forced to flash away as the TP comes in from Bwipo. At this point, you're thinking, oh, Bwipo might be in danger. Good body blocking comes in from Masu, but that E from FaZe to reposition ended up being his death sentence. The Ignite was held onto, the barrier comes through,
What an engage.
the double knock-up into Q. Beautiful.
We're gonna see it in slow motion!
At 700 200 gold goes into the pocket of Masu.
Beautiful redemption for Busio. Isaac, you talked about it in game number 1. The struggles that he had during MSI, the comeback during summer, and now to be the enabler of the early double kill from Masu against GenG 4 minutes into the game, just huge.
It's a fantastic TP from Bwipo supporting the team. And that is the faith that they have in this NA talent bot lane here, Masu and Busio. The team knows if we get Masu in a position, he can win us games. They have that confidence in him, and Bwipo is willing to make sacrifices to his own game to enable this young AD carry.
Good little trade there from Chovy in the mid lane to try and push out that wave. Quanto should be able to set up a decent freeze. The stacked wave that you were talking about earlier, Azael, now going to be caught as Inspired hovering around the bot side of the map. That's the other consequence of that failed play from Canyon. Inspired has been full clearing the whole time. This man, for those that don't know, loves clearing camps. He
the
did it in EU.
CEO of full clear.
Full clears, yes. He did it in EU. He immediately went over to NA and did the same thing. And if you try and make that haphazard play, you aren't able to execute. Inspired is going to punish you for it. And now look at that. Level 5 completed for him. He's back out onto the map with a Giant's Bell.
It's big advantages here so far for FlyQuest. You can see, though, Chovy trading well with Quad in mid lane. Getting a little bit dicey as they both are getting a bit low on health. You also have to wonder, could this TP get punished from Bwipo? If he gets ganked without that TP, if you die without that TP, all of a sudden plates go over. All of a sudden you lose all the minions. The wave becomes very difficult. So Canyon still has an opportunity to try to have an effect on this map, but he also knows Inspired is ahead of him, and if Inspired is there when he goes for that gank, another play goes bad in the early game, GenG could be in a lot of trouble.
Look at the blue buff right now. Bit of an invade coming out from Canyon when his top lane had just reset. I think his goal there was just to get a bit of information.
Yeah.
Lahen's using this opportunity to roam mids as the grub started off. Good awareness from Canyon, knowing that Quad wants to go back to base, doesn't have the TP available. Lahen's is already here to the play. Chovy has the power, but they dive bot.
Bottom lane, Pays at 200 HP. Masu has to get rid of the turret aggro now as Pays is still fighting, but it ain't gonna matter. And Kathy and Rain buries Pays underneath the tier 1 turret, and FlyQuest claim a 3rd kill for their marksman.
A crucial set of sequences happened on the map. While GenG gained the advantage on the grub, they did so by bringing Lahen's up. FlyQuest needed to make a cross map happen, and they rightly do it. We talked in game 1 about playing with the nameplates off. They didn't look at Pays' names, they just saw an Ezreal that should have died.
Bwipo in trouble as Canyon trying to make his presence known up here on the top side. Bwipo's locked up, beat down. Canyon gets GenG on the board.
And they get that huge punish now on Bwipo with no teleport here. He's going to lose a lot. Keen is going to get this wave in. He's going to get likely at least one of these turret plates. And he's going to be in a pretty big advantage off of that.
Inspired making his way back towards the top side, should be able to tick over to level 6 as a result of this. Busio making his way towards mid as well. With the grubs gone, typically you'd look for those neutral objective trades, but Inspired not really been in a position to play for that dragon just yet. He has to cover the top side of the map. He's going to catch that whole wave, and as you rightly said, Azael, the top side of the map now a big advantage for GenG, with Masu finding himself with a 1.1k gold lead.
Yep, that was always the risk. When you TP down to bot, you die without that teleport, you are in trouble. So Bwipo sacrifices for the team, but it's not nearly as dire as it was in that last game. The situation that he was in was so much more difficult, and especially against a Jax who really does scale incredibly well. Bwipo's still in it, and Masu has been set up for success. This young Canadian AD carry trying to make his name known on the international scene. Has talked so much about how the support of his family has really meant the world to him. He comes here, he has so much backing from his family. They're always watching the games. They're always sending him supporting messages, calling him after the games, and he wears that necklace as a reminder of his uncle, of his family, and of their home.
3-1, 1,000 gold lead for FlyQuest, despite the fact that, like we've already touched on, no neutral objectives to their name just yet. 2 minutes until we get the next set of grubs. The first Drake being a Chem Drake doesn't have a lot of individual value itself, and it looks like neither one of the teams are super concerned with it right now. Canyon is on this bottom part of the map. He is level 6. However, it looks like he's going to go ahead, take his recall here for a purchase, as Busio will move into the bot side river, clear out some of this vision. Inspired also hanging around, farming Krugs up himself.
Masu with good control over this wave. Nice W connects, but an immediate trade back from Pays. Both AD carries with very similar stories, but of course along different timelines. It's a big ultimate connects from Pays. Dragon's still available. Canyon on the bot side of the map, likely taking over to level 7. Oh, no, not quite enough experience. May set up for the objective, given the pressure that he has on bot. He could even be looking for a dive.
I think it's round 2 here, and this time there's Whippo still having that teleport, you know, so they do have to be careful about that. If they overcommit, the same play could happen.
1v1 in the mid lane, though. Quad firing back on Chovy, who has some quick side steps to get away from some of those Zeri Qs. Chovy still wants to keep it moving forward. Quad getting every little bit of extra HP he can there with the grass procs. Inspired, waiting around in the brush. This Skarner has not yet had a real meaningful impact on the game.
Yeah, Quad is trying to bait Chovy forward. If Chovy E's forward, Inspired will look for the play. But it looks like Chovy is just playing this too smart, too safe, and there's not going to be an opportunity. So now it is going to be about the grubs here. They rise in importance as we are going to see GenG claiming the first dragon, claiming the first 3 grubs. You definitely do not want to give 6 over, but Masu now with the Shiv completed, so strong at this point of the game, and it's going to be his turn to pay Whippo back, to be able to have a big impact on some of these fights.
He's going to be making his way towards the top side of the map. Pei's going to be sticking around on bot, his base delayed. He does have an experience advantage over Masu, thanks to being able to push in that extra wave, which is not going to be caught by anyone. TP committed now bot lane from Whippo. He's not going to be able to get much of that farm, but a nice trade comes in from Quad means that Chovy going to be delayed in terms of contest for the grubs. This means that FlyQuest should have advantage on this objective.
However, teleports are now unleashed, and Chovy does have his cooldown ready to fire. As soon as he gets back to the base, he could join the fight in that 4-second moment's notice. Masu clearing out the ward. Canyon and Lehens both making their way up to this topside river as well. GenG ready to commit for the second set of the grubs as Quad continues backing away from Pei's, and Whippo wants to keep the bot lane pushing.
They're not going to contest. Whippo has no TP. He actually did go down towards bot with that teleport, so they're just making the call. We give up the grubs, we trade for plates, and that is risky business, but if you can deny them from getting to those towers, then hey, it can really pay off because the grubs are only potential power. If you're getting shoved in those lanes, they don't do a lot for you.
FlyQuest is hovering around the area here a little bit, but they are not going to go any further forward. Inspired and Busio's feet never touch water, as that's 6 grubs for GenG. Very nice early control over the objectives here for the LCK team.
I mean, I am surprised that Inspired base there to complete his item rather than try and contest. But I guess the logic is, against Renekton this early on, it's not worth it. And given that Whip already TP'd to the bot side of the map, Renekton versus our double AD carries at this point in the game, no, we're good, we're fine. But conceding so many objectives in the early game is a dangerous thing to do against GenG.
It really is, right? And if they get access to those towers, they are going to punish you. Chovy's going to be playing heavily through sides on the Sylas, so that is a concern, as Whippo will get jumped on, but should be able to walk it out. And I think the thing is for FlyQuest, their read is we outscale.
Whippo gets tagged by the stolen ulti. Chovy going in, trying to get the execute threshold. Remember, it's 25%, but they don't do the damage in time despite the true shot barrage from Pei's making a connection there onto Whippo. He had to use the flash to live, though.
Yeah, Whippo will be pushed out. FlyQuest read again. If they think they outscale, they're just saying, you know what? We'll sit back. Yeah, you can have the grubs, but we're just going to keep farming on the double AD carry, and we'll get to a point where you can't contest us in the 5v5. The question is, was their read right? Because GenG does have some powerful scaling themselves, and of course are masters in that 5v5.
It's awkward lane assignments right now for FlyQuest. They've got Masu in the mid lane against Chovy with a 2-level discrepancy. They've sent Quad up to fight Keen. It's Renekton, who is doing fine in the 1v1 because of how safe Zeri is, but Whippo really needs to base, so a lot of the cover from FlyQuest has to go towards the bot side of the map to help them push out that wave. Now we've got Pei's and Lehens pushing in bot. You've got Masu pushing in mid. The risk is, though, but because Kai'Sa's such short range that while you'd ideally love to be trading plates, it's a dangerous thing to do against a Sylas and a Sejuani.
The other thing I'm looking at here, we've got less than 1 minute now until the Herald spawns. FlyQuest having already given away the first 3 neutral objectives with that first Drake and all 6 grubs. How much are they really willing to give? You talk about grubs being a down payment and investment, something that you have to make later actions for it to pay off. You're almost always going to get value from a Herald.
Exactly, and the grubs amp the power of the Herald. You drive it in, you have 6 grubs. You're going to get 12 Void Mites popping out of that thing. It's a clown car, and it feels like you get so much damage down on the tower every single time. FlyQuest are basing now. It is going to be a little bit late if they want to actually contest here. We'll see if they are going to be looking for it. You can see Quad has no teleport. He's just going back to base now. So again, I think they're just content to keep farming, keep playing it slow, maintain the status quo, and that is, for now, a 2.4k gold lead.
A Black Cleaver being finished on Whippo is a nice spike, but no TP available on him. Rakan is making his way up, but Inspired, he sets his sights on the bottom camp, so your read is right, Azael. With the Stride Breaker finished for Quad, an item that I was not expecting.
I think it is tech because there's 4 melee champions on the other side. And I don't think we're going to get a fight here, but we'll see. They are peeking in to see if they can get a lucky steal. But when you're playing against these 4 melee champions, you do have that slow that you can apply if they are chasing in onto you. It makes it more difficult for them to actually stick onto him. It is pretty interesting, and he's going to be a lot tankier. It's 450 health, plus all the grass procs he's gotten. Maybe you can check how many he has, Betty.
And I also want to point out that we're talking about Whippo hitting that Black Cleaver, the way that Whippo has come back into the game. Hold on 1 second here. Whippo did complete his call and then sell it off after to hit that power spike there to make sure that he could buy the Black Cleaver, be ready if they need to fight. You can see the gold in the top lane, despite the fact that we talked about Whippo's self-sacrifice to enable the early double kill for Masu. The gold is now not even 100 apart, still favoring Keen.
I mean, Quad has 2,400 health right now, so quite a lot. It's as much as Silas, but you're playing an AD carry. So he's not going to be the easiest to burst down. I think he's going to be posturing aggressively, trying to utilize that extra health to be baiting them in onto him, to try to make them overcommit, and then to try to kite them out in the fight. We'll have to see if that is going to be able to work, but FlyQuest, again, they are masters of playing towards what they believe their win conditions are. If they think they outscale, it doesn't matter. You're not going
to not respecting the recall. Be like, hey,
say, you know what?
Let me ride my little Poros to victory.
But guess what? In 10 minutes, it's going to be 70-30, and we'll fight you then.
Well, the second Drake of the game goes FlyQuest's way, so they will not allow GenG to continue stacking towards a soul that critically is a Hex soul. This always tops the rankings, all the tier lists of what matters the most. And when you have 2 AD carries, having a slowing chain lightning is going to be massive for kiting out these team fights. So FlyQuest working towards that. On the other side though, GenG, it's also an amazing poke tool to have the Hex soul, and you know Pays will be delivering the Mystic shots.
Whippo, crucially, secures first tire of the game. Remember that he was at a pretty massive deficit early on. He's been able to close the experience gap. He's significantly closed the gold gap, giving himself an advantage. And now FlyQuest are at a 3K gold lead.
Yeah.
Securing that second dragon did a lot, mainly because it just slows down GenG's ability to basically snowball the game. And we're getting closer to those fights where, Azael and I already talked about it in the draft, it's an interesting situation where I have some concerns around FlyQuest's ability to gain access to the backline. However, both teams are going to be looking to play a front-to-back composition. And when you have 3 melees into double AD carry, that's a good situation for both an Urgot and the AD carries to be playing.
I mean, it's 4 melees into double AD carry, right? It gets
True.
even harder. And there's a Black Cleaver that Urgot purchased up, which I think is so smart. Shredding the armor for your AD carries, applying that to everyone. You also have to remember, you want to be pretty tanky here, but guess what? You're minus 20% HP because the Urgot ultimate. So I think what FlyQuest is going to do in every single fight is they're going to Urgot ultimate one person, hit that on the front line, try to get that kill, and then utilize the fear beyond death, that fear that comes out onto all these melee champions to buy space and take over the fight. That is going to be the key thing. And the question is, can FlyQuest get that first fight to set up for success in the rest of the 5v5?
Well, GenG is going to get their first turret of the game here in the bottom lane. Canyon came down to apply enough pressure to force Whippo to step back so that Keen is able to secure
FlyQuest is doing pretty good. Keen's getting caught now. They have the Urgot execute. So I don't think Keen can live, but they're risking a turret for this.
Now, but his goal is only to buy time. There is no escape here for the Crocodile, and Quad gets the 4th kill for FlyQuest, but the trade in mid lane is there. It's the Rift Herald summoned up by GenG. They use it to force the tier 1 turret down, and Lehens drives it back into the tier 2. Now Inspired and Busio show up to force Lehens back, so ultimately GenG do close the gold gap despite FlyQuest getting the pick down in the bottom lane.
Flank.
But a TP up in the top side now, as Chovy could be in trouble. Whippo moving in, still moving towards this guy, slows him down with a grenade, and now trying to get that extra little bit of space. Disdain with the flash! Whippo finds Chovy, but where's the rest of the damage? Busio wants to go in, but he will not get his man. Inspired still hanging around here. Farsight trinket from GenG to stop the FlyQuest jungler. Canyon showing up, and another TP is coming in from GenG.
Oh no, it's fired! It's fired!
GenG with a beautiful punch back.
An overstep from FlyQuest as Whippo finds a
well,
great
it's
trade
just a
onto
fumble
Chovy.
from Inspired, bro. He just had to land the impale and have a job!
FlyQuest is forced to retreat. Sejuani ultimate is not available as it was used on the Skarner, but FlyQuest, they got a single pick onto Keen in the bot lane. GenG got a tower top, a tower mid, and and then got a kill back themselves. That 3K gold lead that FlyQuest had is now only 1,000.
Yep, and to make matters worse, not only was it the trade of flashes, I think the initial play from Whippo is good, but Busio spent his flash and his ignite to try to follow up there. And then Inspired, when he sees the TP coming through, I think his idea is to try to time that ultimate maybe on the TP, but he mistimed it. He wasn't able to connect onto Chovy, wasn't able to get it on Keen. So it's a swing and a miss, and that means they were always going to lose that fight. So FlyQuest do get a bit aggressive here and are punished for it. GenG, we saw this in game number 1 as well. You make a misstep, they will take the map and they will close that gold lead.
The way in which GenG play on their side lanes is, I mean, it's one of the best in the world. 50 seconds until the Dragon. They're going to have the push in mid, thanks to the fact that FlyQuest don't have that tower anymore. Chovy keeping pressure in bot, has a slight level advantage over Quad, which means that contesting this Dragon, maybe FlyQuest just say, we'll concede it, maybe look to cross-map that tier 1 tower in the top lane.
Yeah, FlyQuest also, you got to look at the item power spikes. Not fully completed second item for Quad yet compared to Chovy, who is at the mark. Down to the bottom lane, Chovy going in with the stolen lightning crash. Quad with a sidestep away from multiple ultis as Busio counterattacks with the quickness, but GenG still got more men. Inspired wants to go in and find some sort of an angle here for the ulti. He only gets Canyon, another knockup, but the GenG jungler's way too tanky. Inspired's gonna die again if he's not careful as Keen kills Whippo down in the corner. Lahen's still retreating. He's got the unbreakable, but how breakable is he?
Masu going in, let's go!
Running, Canyon regenerating with the Warmogs now, and that could be the difference. FlyQuest now feels the pressure. They've got to continue backing away. Keen can't join because he doesn't have a teleport, but GenG's feeling confident.
It's good kiting there from GenG. Canyon has regen, and they couldn't get in on pace. He is chunked low, but so difficult to reach that Ezreal. Not going to be enough to kill Quad there. But narrowly, Quad was able to escape. They do turn around, they do get 1 kill, but at the end of the day, you commit a lot, you just kill Lahens. GenG will take the Dragon, and again, I think come out ahead.
There's not a lot of lockdown on the side of FlyQuest. Their overall crowd control is surprisingly limited, which means that in these extended fights where FlyQuest can keep hitting, there's worlds where they can win out on the fight, but trying to burst down that single target, they couldn't actually keep Canyon still enough for long enough to allow the AD carries to do the damage needed. Dragon secured there for GenG.
And now Whippo has that second item, and this is one that has become synonymous with his gameplay. It is the Sterix. He plays so heavily around this. If you ever listen to FlyQuest comms, he talks all about the Sterix cooldown, about creating space with that, about buying time with that. Lahens?
Lahen's in danger as Busio jumps over the wall to knock him up a little bit, but Lahens can easily just regroup with Chovy, right back over that terrain, get himself to safety.
And Masu is going to be going the AP route here. This is standard for what he plays. It is going to give them a lot more range, a lot more ability to poke and prod and harass back here. As we'll watch this fight one more time.
So we look back at the 1v1. Whippo ended up getting outplayed, able to get the knock back, but it's kind of just two beefcakes slapping up against each other, and I believe that he'd already had the Sterix completed going into that fight. Oh no.
No, I think he got caught. I think he got caught before he had actually based.
Oh, sorry, I meant Keen already had the Sterix.
Yes, Keen did,
so
absolutely.
The shield advantage ended up giving him the advantage there. So just the itemization difference allowing Keen to win the 1v1.
Keen also doing a great job playing around those shotgun knees, avoiding the extra angles. Whippo is critically at the Urgot breakpoint. Remember that the cooldowns for each individual knee are at their lowest value once you hit level 13. It's 2.5 seconds per leg, so very easy to get those back up and have a lot of extra damage in these fights. 1,500 gold lead still for FlyQuest. Yes, Baron is on the map, but now we got to see the pressure here on Canyon as Busio's trying to lock him up, but he's just so damn tanky.
Yeah, and they're not going to overcommit to chasing him in. You can see critical item now completed as well there for Busio. Has the Mikhails, and the Mikhails is going to be a big deal when you look over and you think, okay, what is the main engage? It's really Canyon looking for an ulti here, as Keen may go in, but Masu is close enough. He could get back down here.
Yeah, if Whippo can stop Keen, okay, I was going to say if Masu gets close enough for a plasma mark, you Killer Instinct in, all of a sudden it becomes a 2v1, but it ain't going to happen. Keen knows better.
Hayes. There's a 1.2k gold difference between the AD carries, but in terms of itemization, they're pretty much even. A little bit more AP damage is going to come through from Masu, but it's a scary spot for this Ezreal. Once he completes the Shojin, his Q basically doesn't have a cooldown anymore.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's basically
if
playing
it's on your team. Not as funny when it's on the other team.
Yeah, enemy team, it becomes very, very threatening. Well, you guys talked a little bit about, we've seen the LPL 80 carry performances here so far at Worlds, and just the damage charts at the end of the fights once Ezreal hits these power spikes, it's incredible. He's always the largest bar on that graph.
Exactly. I mean, when these Ezreals are positioning really well, using the shift perfectly, getting that bonus damage in, as they're going to look for a pick on Bwipo. If he goes forward, he's probably dead.
Yeah, Bwipo's in some danger here, flashing out, but Keen's ready to flash follow. Bwipo getting stunned up, chain CC'd by Canyon there with a Glacial Prison. Bwipo's buying a lot of time, but it ain't enough. Steric's Gauge won't keep him alive in that one. And Quad's here, but now he's got to be a little bit careful himself. Tries to throw the zap over to continue getting a little bit more slows. Masu just barely not going to land the Void Seeker. It expires at the very tip of the range. +1 for GenG.
Pretty surprised that Quad even TP'd there because it was so late on the play. Maybe he was too close to Sylas and had to actually back off before the TP could get interrupted or something like that. I didn't actually see on the minimap, but very late TP. Masu was close to actually connecting with that W, and if he had, maybe they pile in and try to actually get that kill, but Bwipo getting punished in the side lanes here has been a problem for him at times.
Keen level 16 now, the highest level in the game. This Renekton is going to be an incredibly difficult front line to have to deal with. FlyQuest, you're seeing how they're conceding a lot more on the map. These objectives are getting harder to contest. GenG are doing a good job of manipulating the side waves once again. Chovy has the push in top once more. They still hold on to their mid and top tower. And FlyQuest, it feels like the pressure is continuing to mount.
Back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of the game when FlyQuest got that double kill in the bot lane.
Canyon's behind him.
Canyon coming in. GenG making their move. Inspired's going to be the target here, but he tries to force the enemy front line back. The Skarner's locked up in the front. He's going to get beat down. The Steric's ain't going to matter yet. Again, he drags two back. Into the back line goes Chovy. Inspired flashing away to barely stay alive, but now Bwipo's going to be in danger as well. The first kill is going over to the stolen ulti, and Chovy puts Bwipo in the grinder. Now Pei's got to be careful. There goes your Void Seeker. Pei's still getting away for now. Masu trying to fire a few more of these off. Quad and the rest of FlyQuest trying to get at least a little bit of mid lane pressure here. They're down a man. They got to be careful as they continue retreating. Inspired went back to the base to heal, but now Masu's got to be careful. There's your use of that cleanse from the McHales as again GenG continue the chase, but Masu's unstoppable. Lehen's went in too far. Zap shoots out of the wall, and Key's got to be careful. So much pressure, but it's not enough. Masu cuts.
What? They're turning it around!
Little faith. Believe in Masu on the AD carry. Chovy still trying to escape. He dashes back over the wall, and FlyQuest take a huge fight.
And they're going to go to the Baron Flowers. They're going to go straight for it here. Bwipo is chasing for the kill. He has his ulti up in a second.
Shit.
He'll see if he can find Chovy, but it's Masu, the Canadian sniper, stepping up and getting the triple.
And Bwipo even finds Chovy. He damages him with the grenade over the wall. Chovy's death is going to be delayed.
It felt like FlyQuest didn't have the damage to win the fight, but GenG kept going. They forced the fight, they kept chasing after, and it was at this point, Inspired, thanks to the Hex Gate, rejoins the fray. Lehen's flashes forward, the front line reappears, and now FlyQuest can play the front to back.
And Masu, look at this, E forward, going in Viz, flashing forward, getting a second kill, picks the perfect targets, gets into the back line, playing with the confidence. It's Masu taking over the fight against GenG.
Bwipo just loving it. You can even see some surprise there on his face, not even believing what's going on for this team now. As the Drake is alive, FlyQuest is going to take this one without a contest to tie these up at 2-2, and they've got the Baron for another 2 minutes.
I mean, you see now why they have so much faith in Masu, why they put the resources into him, why Bwipo is willing to give up his lane to TP bot to protect this guy, because he can step up when it matters most. He can carry the game.
7-0-1 with a 700 gold bounty on Masu. Ginsu's, Nashor's, Static Shiv, and an unbroken armband. He has all the tools he needs, and his team is ready to play around him.
GenG uncharacteristically prioritized the fights and the kills over the objectives. Dragon, during that fight, was about 30 seconds off. and they chased with nothing left. No ultis, all the engaged tools were gone. They invested everything to get that kill onto Inspired, and they paid the price. Now Inspired looking once again.
Inspired's got to be careful here. Remember, this is the same spot of the map that he overextended previously, and it cost FlyQuest. But now, the state of the game is very different. It is a 5,500 gold lead for North America's #1 seed. It is a 5-man push through the top lane towards the tier 2. Keen waiting on the flank, but Busio's marking him, making sure the Renekton does not have a path into the carries of FlyQuest. Quad, 3-item power spike now as well, with his Blade of the Ruin King completed on the Zeri. FlyQuest push continues as Canyon, Pays, and Lahens will back away from the tier 2, while Chovy takes a tier 2 over in the mid lane. GenG is applying split pressure. They're making FlyQuest answer Chovy as they continue pushing down the top lane. 4 turrets to 4.
It is unbelievable that once again, FlyQuest, a team that no one had any expectations of, are forcing these gods from the LCK to have to take a knee. The pressure that they are exerting, the team fighting that they are demonstrating, they are going toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the world. 6K is the gold lead. The Baron will wear off. And now we return to a state where FlyQuest must find one more fight, and if they can, they will bring GenG to match point.
Interestingly enough, look at those timers in the top corners of your screen. Nearly identical for the next Drake and the next Baron. FlyQuest have lost their Baron power for now, so GenG will be able to much more easily clear these waves. Look at Keem, split pushing up in the top lane. That tier 2 turret is barely standing on FlyQuest's side, so he'll almost certainly be able to knock this one down. You're already seeing the early recall coming out from Whippo, and now a TP onto the last remaining cannon minion as FlyQuest is sending more men to approach from the side. Inspired should be the first one there, as Whippo should make it so that Keen cannot find an escape. He tries to run into the alcove, but a nice use of the Scryer's trinket to make it so Keen doesn't have a chance to teleport away in time. Masu waiting on the tanks to lead the way first, and immediately Inspire just slams Keen right back into the wall. They put the money where the money belongs, and Masu gets kill number 8.
Masu grabs another kill. This one only cost them the teleport here. Thankfully for Keen, he didn't use flash, didn't use teleport, no big waste of resources there. But it's gonna come down to these next fights here, and GenG is up against it.
6K, sorry. The gold lead for FlyQuest now. A minute and a half until both neutral objectives spawn. A nice pick found by FlyQuest, but not really going to convert into much for either side outside of another kill. The Void Staff finish from Masu means that his poke from the W is going to be that much more scary. And it's a valuable tool at the start of these fights because you've only mainly been seeing like the all-ins. But now, poke from the Ezreal, poke from the Kai'Sa is going to be crucial to how these fights kick off.
Absolutely, and when you look over at the GenG frontliners, they don't look all that tanky. It's double Locket, it's a Warmogs. Yes, that is great if it's going to be poke, but in an extended fight, in a committed fight against double AD carries with this Black Cleaver from Whippo amping them, you are not going to be able to stand up that long.
FlyQuest, 5-man push here in the bottom lane. Tier 2 turret in their sights, and GenG nowhere to be found. Fly, knock it down, and extend the gold lead to 7,500. 45 seconds on the timers for Baron and Dragon both, as Lehen steps forward and tries to get the smallest amounts of vision for GenG inside their own blue side jungle. Masu gonna continue poking with these Void Seekers. Once it gets to an objective standoff, Canyon will need to be the one to eat those. He's the one with the Warmogs, he's the one who can shrug it off. FlyQuest now moving back into mid, getting this wave shoved up, wanting to make sure that GenG are always on the defense.
The clock ticks down. We take a moment to breathe. We'll give Flowers that opportunity to get his breath ready as we build closer to that ever-important fight. They both take placement in the mid-wave. They contest, and here we go.
With the flash disdain, Canyon's gonna be your target here in the front, but a nice counter-attack coming out from Chovy. Beautiful stolen Skarner ulti. Isn't enough? Masu's low. Killer Instinct to give him the shield to try to stay alive as Keen dives into the back line, and Whippo's already gonna be killed. Top for top, 1 for 1. Masu, legendary, but FlyQuest bleeding.
Yeah, and Masu has no resources here. Are they even going to try to stay around? He's got no summoners. They got to go back to base. GenG win the fight off the back of that Chovy ultimate. Inspired tried to get one of his own, but it was only on Lehens. It's Chovy who makes the difference.
Chovy stepping up when GenG need him. To win a fight down 7,000 gold is absolutely insane. GenG secure soul point.
Quad pushing out mid here is going to be able to get this tier 2, so the gold lead does extend, but soul point for GenG with the most powerful soul in the game. FlyQuest tried to go aggressive on that play, but Chovy shutting them down with the big two-man ulti really made it difficult.
This is a great opportunity. I mean, good awareness from GenG. They realize that they haven't actually committed to a base yet. Keen is still at death timer, and Chovy hasn't reset, so there's a window where FlyQuest can actually force the Baron, but they choose not to. Let's look back at this fight. It starts off with an initiation from Bwipo, who flashes in to get the knockback. He connects onto the front line. The way in which GenG want to play this, Pays dishing out good damage, and it's just that front-to-back team fight. But a huge ultimate comes in from Chovy to split the fight up, giving Keen access onto the back line. And while Bwipo is left isolated, the same is said for Keen.
All right, we're back into it. Lehen's trying to get away now. Inspired wanted the Impale, but Pays was close enough so Lehen's could jump to safety. The Braum, however, down to 1/3 HP. There is no Warmogs on this GenG support, so FlyQuest will, if nothing else, have control over the topside river to secure vision for the Baron.
Masu now on true 6 items here. FlyQuest starting up the Baron.
TP coming in from GenG. True Shot Barrage flies out from Pays, only hits Inspired. Baron down to 60%. Keen is on the flank, and FlyQuest do not know. They've got to be careful about this one as they continue DPS here for the Baron. Kanan and King gonna step up. Masu's already under pressure, and immediately Boostio was about to die. Keen's gonna get bursted into the front line on the other side, and Masu stays alive. He's still firing, still fighting. Quad pushes forward, goes to the killing spree. 4 versus 3, but Pays fights back. A beautiful shutdown over the Ezreal as Bwipo jumps into the disdain. Pays goes into the stratosphere, and Masu goes legendary. FlyQuest just killed everybody but Canyon.
Let's go! FlyQuest!
GenG to their knees. David is beating Goliath.
An impressive fight once again comes through from FlyQuest as they dance with the dangerous Baron, but they succeed and come out on top.
This Zhonya's from Masu was insane. Everything went wrong for him at the start of this fight. He has no vision on Keen around the corner here. Look at the reaction time to get the Zhonya's off. When he has no cleanse, he's able to get it off. They stun him up, and then he ults to reposition. If he doesn't get that Zhonya's, he is stunned. He is dead to start the fight. GenG win. GenG take the Baron. GenG take the game.
Such a crucial difference in the target focus. Had both Pays and Chovy were focusing Boostio, whereas the rest of FlyQuest turned their attention to the top side. Bwipo connects the knockback, sends Pays to space, brings him back down to reality, where the rest of FlyQuest are ready to send him back to base.
And you can see the look on Boostio's face. That has to be the stress of that play where he was exploded at the very beginning. Bwipo, pure joy, the love of League of Legends, the love of competition as FlyQuest with a 5-man push. Now in the bottom lane, trying to crack the base of GenG. Keen and Chovy on the side. Chovy with the stolen Rakan ulti, look for the quickness as Boostio jumps in. Turret's already down.
Here goes!
Forcing the issue, but a True Shot Barrage over the top of 4 is going to try to hold the line for GenG.
Yo, this Zary's annoying to deal with.
Took a couple of hits.
Holy shit! Look at how tanky Zary
Not
is.
just bleeding, they are falling apart as FlyQuest, with a 10k gold lead here in Game 3, are resetting to set up for the Dragon. A minute's time. Still a minute left on the Baron. They can still do good damage. But an unbelievable performance. What was meant to be a 3-0, a quick day for GenG, is turning into an incredible turnaround upset for FlyQuest.
It's just a brilliant performance from the entire team. But it is not a win just yet. The Nexus must fall, and they have to prevent GenG from turning this game around by getting Soul, by getting into a better position.
All eyes on Chovy for the GenG fans. Remember, when GenG won the fight in mid lane, it was Chovy's stolen Skarner ultimate that made it happen when they were 7,000 gold behind. Now, at a 10,000 gold deficit, they're gonna need something even greater. True Shot Barrage with no results this time. Chovy eating a little bit of damage as Inspired moves forward, and the second inhibitor will fall. 30 seconds left on this Baron timer. 15 seconds until the Drake spawns, and and FlyQuest will move in position to bring this game to 3 Drakes to 3.
And look at the map. There's no vision at all for GenG. They have no way to contest this whatsoever. They can't get out there, so they're going to have to give up this dragon here, give up their shot at the soul for now, and hope that they can hold the line in their base. But FlyQuest crossing the T's, dotting the I's, getting everything they want to try to close out this game.
The circumstances of the fight are a matter of which frontline falls first. In the previous fight, we saw the target focus being thrown onto Busio. The Silas ultimate, Ezreal's damage, a lot of it thrown onto this Rakan, who was happy to lose his life so that on the other side, Keen was being shut down. In this battle of front to back, Azel was talking about all that matters is which frontline falls first. And when you have double AD carries with an Urgot on top of that, it just becomes a matter of time before these double AD carries start to win out.
And that's why GenG have to play so perfectly around cooldowns, so perfectly about that E from the Braum to utilize these spells, to buy time, to buy space. Because if you just run straight in and you fight to the death, FlyQuest wins every single time. GenG have to outsmart, have to outplay if they are to come back in this game.
It's double Sterix, double Unending Despair on the 2 meatballs for FlyQuest. They are built to just endure forever.
And it's 4 melee. So when you have these items here that give you that drain tank, it can be so much healing in a long fight with the Unending Despair. 4 melee champions around you, you absorb all of that extra life, you become so much more difficult to knock down.
The path to get here for FlyQuest was one of great debate.
Yes, sir.
Did they deserve to be in the quarterfinals, knocking out a brother in arms to qualify for the top 8? It was, I mean, Azel, you talked about it on the desk. It's frustrating because people are always going to have that caveat. Oh, they made top 8, but they didn't beat anyone really to get there. Well, there is no room for question here. This has been nothing but a spectacular performance from FlyQuest. And regardless of the results of today's series, North America should stand proud as FlyQuest have upset the apple cart and done what no one thought they could.
Absolutely. And when you think about the fact that they pushed HLE to the brink as well, almost able to take that best of 3, it becomes that much more impressive. FlyQuest now trying to close in on this final inhibitor. You can see Supers coming in bot, Supers coming in mid. That is going to be the moment where FlyQuest can try to pounce.
There's 1 minute left until the bot lane inhibitor respawns. 2 left on the mid lane inhibitor timer. Tons of damage from Pays onto Inspired. The Mystic shots bringing him low as Bwipo buffers through some of the CC. Mikhail's to try to get him further back. GenG doing a great job forcing FlyQuest away. Bwipo barely getting away from that last Mystic shot that would have triggered another Winter's Bite and could have potentially allowed GenG to chase further.
They do get the teleport though from Chovy critically, so now they go back, they regen up, and it's going to get harder.
That's 3 ultis gone. Canyon ulti, Pays ulti, Lahen's ulti. The TP comes back in. FlyQuest are ready to fight.
FlyQuest keeping it going. 3rd inhibitor turret under pressure. The wave is being cleared out as the super minions pressure the bottom lane and the mid lane together. FlyQuest backing away. The Baron spawns in 5 seconds.
Exactly, and they're just going to go right in onto the Baron. Their supers still moving up mid lane here. It's going to get very difficult. FlyQuest can just 2-man this while the rest of them look to block out GenG from responding.
Masu does a ton of damage to this objective all by his lonesome. Canyon would lead the charge for GenG. Chovy has lost a good chunk of HP here in the approach. The FlyQuest squad just trying to buy a little bit of time to secure the Baron, but Bwipo might die. Quad going in for lightning crash. GenG are dying. FlyQuest have already killed everybody.
Let's go!
To the absolute limit. They will take a 2-1 lead.
It's Quad with the Quadra. FlyQuest march on the Nexus.
The first Nexus turret, the second Nexus turret, the Nexus itself will all fall to pieces. FlyQuest are 1 game away from semifinals.
Where were you when FlyQuest pushed GenG to the brink?
Wow!
Alrighty, boys! Game 4! Match point! Can we do it? Can NA do it for the first time in history?
You know how...
All right. Just going to pause real quick. All right. Let's see. Oof. Oh, we got Chovy on Tristana. Pays on Ashe. Ooh, I think we're going to game 5 with this. This is the classic. We're going to beat yo ass GenG come.
This stage, people looked at them and said, perhaps this team really is the stronger version. They just lost a single best of 5.
Yeah.
But FlyQuest, they're poking holes in GenG's drafts. They're finding creative angles, and quite frankly, they are executing better on a lot of the team fights, which is their biggest strength throughout the year.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things where we, you know, as the LCS kind of representatives here, have never really had that. It's always felt like if you get into a good position against the LCK or against the LPL, you're just going to get outplayed in the team fight, right? And watching some of these fights, it really does feel like Quad and Masu are stepping up, and Busio and Inspired and Bwipo are all playing to a level where you're like, you know what? If the game is even, maybe we just win. And I think that is a feeling that I haven't really had before.
Chovy immediately jumping in on Quad, seeing Busio show up to apply some pressure here to the mid lane. Chovy losing the flash at level 1.
I think the important thing to remember is FlyQuest. Oh, Bwipo, that is not a good trade, my friend.
No, sir.
Oh,
that is a very bad trade.
He was trying to give up his health to get experience. So he's trying to stay in range of that XP, and that's why he was that far up. But it does make it pretty dicey. We can see, though, we have the knowledge that Canyon is down on bot lane. There is a ward that's down there as well, so FlyQuest also has that info. So I don't actually think that they are worried right now about a dive, thanks to that ward. You can barely see it on the minimap. That does spot him out.
Okay, recall game 2. That was the one that GenG won. These two FlyQuest players were on the exact same champions in that game, and Bwipo taking bad trades early on, sacrificing too much HP, is what enabled GenG, who were also playing the Nidalee for Canyon in that game, to facilitate dives, to get early leads, and snowball that game. Now, immediately, Busio again going to claim another flash from a GenG carry.
I mean, how about this play? And now Lehens, he's going to have to flash or he's in trouble.
Yeah, Lehens, victim of the Arctic Assault, as Inspired, just trying to make sure that that Summoner spell is committed there too. That's 1, 2, 3 flashes in 3 minutes.
Exactly, 3 minutes in, 3 flashes forced. FlyQuest outplaying GenG on the map. They got the preferential lanes as well. It's Masu laning against Keen's Cassante. He's just having a free farm down there. We can see that Pace is getting sent down towards bot now, and Chovy is getting pressured here by Quad. Chovy, of course, up CS as he always seems to be, but FlyQuest got to be really happy with how these lanes are going. You can see the wave is going to push towards Masu, but we'll see if they do want to try to swap away as the Ashe arrives.
Big credit to Busio. He's been involved in all of these early plays. The Rakan showcasing how valuable of a pick it can be in the early game. Nice TP coming through from Chovy as he is getting the slight better of Quad in terms of the isolated 1 versus 1 on this Tristana. But ultimately, a relatively calm early game. No significant advantages gained either side. Standard lanes have now been returned to.
And we talked about it a little earlier in the series, but again, I just want to praise Busio for this absolute growth as a player since the last time we saw him on the international stage back at MSI. MSI was the first time a North American team was eliminated in play-ins at an international event, and it was FlyQuest. That's a tough pill to have to swallow. Busio had a really rough tournament, and now he's bouncing back here in Worlds, having some amazing plays. Masu has carried so many performances here for this team, and they're both North American players. North America has always had this stigma of too many imports. Where's the NA talent? It's right there in FlyQuest's bottom lane duo, and they are both playing an amazing series.
It absolutely is. And when you put it in the context of this is a team that got knocked out in play-ins at MSI and is now 1 game from taking away GenG's semifinal slot, from knocking out a heavy tournament favorites, you have to look at how much they have improved, at how hard they have worked to be able to get where they are.
Certainly. And it just goes to show the amount of pressure that's falling onto the shoulders of GenG. If we look back to MSI, not even BLG pushed them to 5 games. It was only Top Esports at that tournament. They won most of their series 3-1. And now they find themselves with their backs against the wall. Their composition gives them some decent early game strengths. Once again, getting their hands on the Ashe. Nidalee is a jungler for Canyon, is someone that, I mean, just look at the farm already in the jungle. Canyon has been running around the map, stealing camps away from Inspired. He's about to tick over to level 6. And it's the downside of this matchup for Inspired.
It absolutely is. I mean, Canyon is just farming up a storm. You can also see Chovy is pressuring heavily in mid lane. That is where the gold advantage is coming from, but it is slight. And the concern is, look at the gold there on Pays. Look at the farm on Pays. He lost his flash early. He's been running around the map trying to find good lane assignments, and he is really falling very far behind.
Inspired and Busio both getting tagged there by the Scryer's Bloom critically lets them know that FlyQuest is looking at the mid lane, looking at Chovy, who is level 6 now on this Tristana. And Tristana's a champion that just has such amazing self-heal capabilities with the rocket jump, with the buster shot. It's hard to make a play if you don't catch her completely by surprise. Canyon level 6 on this Nidalee, no troubles at all, securing the first set of grubs. GenG going to get 2 of those immediately for themselves, as you can see Bwipo coming down to try to take a look at what's going on. Masu will force Keen all the way back from the wave down here in the bottom lane. Still got to pay enough respect to Cassante when he's close to the turret, but it's not nearly as big of a deal when he's not level 6. And Inspired and FlyQuest, they're just going to trade these early neutral objectives, go after the dragon. Inspired, you guys already mentioned, he's a level and a half behind Canyon's Nidalee. He does not want any combat.
It's a really good trade from Inspired. Right place, right time. You don't want to concede all objectives. We've seen that from FlyQuest in game 2, and that's one of the big annotations we are seeing here in this game. Again, though, you see Pays matching into this Renekton. He's having a bit of a rough time, but ultimately he's still in a fine position, has the level advantage, hasn't died early.
Oh, Keen, nice use there of the knockback. Masu going to be forced to use that first summoner spell to try to get away. Keen's going in for the 1v2. He knocks him back. He knocks him down. The Cassante of Keen steps up.
A massive play from Keen as he's able to just find a massive play. Masu doesn't even commit the flash, realizing that there's probably no way that he can get out of this situation. And Keen's Cassante is recognized for a reason, and he secures first blood for GenG.
I mean, that is just absolutely massive there for GenG. A huge outplay here from Keen. He has the Q3 charged up. They don't respect it. He uses the shift to harass him aggressively. Then the Pathmaker into the Q3, ultimate of the tower. Masu realizes, you know what, I'm actually just dead. Flash is there on Keen. He has too many dashes when he is in the all-out. The flash would not do anything for him, so he elects to hold on to it. But that over-aggressive shift is punished expertly by Keen.
How many times have I seen players, usually it's top laners, disrespect Cassante with his third in Topho Strike primed, with all-outs cooldown available close to his turret. It is one of the deadliest combos in League of Legends.
I mean, Cassante, he's what the copy pasta was made from. He's already doing great work for GenG on the Rift, but it's important to always add that caveat of the overall gold state, and the reality is, even with that kill, Pays finds himself about 550 gold behind. As El was talking about it earlier, the experience and gold deficit that Pays has found himself in is a pretty significant one.
Absolutely, and a lot of that credit, is deserved by Busio, who moved around the map, put that pressure on. They were able to get a lot done with him. Inspired and Bwipo trying to put on pressure where they can. Canyon has maintained his about 500 gold advantage, but is not growing larger at the very least, therefore Inspired. We'll see how Bwipo does hang on now in this 1v1, because despite the farm advantage, he's actually down gold, and Keen has a really good buy after that 1v2 kill.
Yeah, Keen's feeling great about his current place in the game, as Inspired showing up here after Chovy. Arctic Assault Flash to lock up the GenG mid.
That was clean by Inspired.
Wastes a summoner spell to still be dead.
Chovy caught completely off guard there with a great gank from Inspired. Canyon wants to try and contest this crab, but he doesn't have a mid laner to help him. Bwipo comes down. Another objective, a small one, albeit secure for FlyQuest.
And you can see the pressure mounting on GenG. That is not normally a mistake Chovy would make, wasting the flash with no health remaining. He knows he is one game away from his World's Dream ending for this year.
And he's been in this position many times before, by the way. The expectations for Chovy are not new. He's been regarded as a top-tier talent for many years. And even last year, falling short in the quarterfinals to BLG. GenG are trying to eradicate the history.
We were talking about it earlier, right? We're talking about how GenG has been so domestically dominant, but internationally, they've never hit the level that they aspired to. They've gotten to the second highest step, but never that final step, never the World Finals, never the World title. And now, being this close, we'll see if they can bring it to a Game 5 against FlyQuest as Whippo tries to flash away, going into dominance here in a 1v4. But surely GenG just get it done. Whippo can't stay alive. Lehen's dancing with death there, but does stay alive. Now GenG are just gonna drill through this turret health bar.
And you look at the minimap, there's not a lot that FlyQuest can cross-map for. They don't have a wave stacked up for the top lane tower plate. They will be able to get the grubs, but it's just kind of a small advantage gained as, crucially, FaZe's goal difference is going to be reduced significantly. Getting the kills, getting the plates. Now that lead that Mazu had built has all but dissipated.
It is, but they are going to be trying to trade back on this top side, giving the local gold here all towards Mazu, farming up some of these plates. But it is going to be first tower here, down on that bottom side for GenG, and establishing themselves a nice early gold lead, just above 1,000 gold in their favor.
Big early lead there in the bottom lane for the LCK squad. 1,000 gold lead in total just for Keen over Whippo on this Renekton. We already saw Keen get the 1v2 outplay in the bottom lane with his experience on Cassante, with his mastery over this champion. You have to expect him to be an utter terror once these fights between the full team start breaking out.
Absolutely. I mean, Keen on this champion with that gold lead can take over a game. And FlyQuest, I think, are going to do what FlyQuest sometimes does best: slow down the pace of the game, play towards their win conditions, look towards some of the really powerful scaling that they do have. You have these really difficult to kill carries in the late game. You've got great engage, you've got good frontline. I think they can feel comfortable to slow it down, to play it a little bit more reserved, and try to avoid some of this early game power that Keen and Canyon are going to have.
FaZe flashing away there. Quad with the threat with the shockwave, but now GenG coming right back in. Quad's gonna get locked up, has to flash away to try to survive. Canyon on the chase. Quad's about to die. 50 HP remaining, but an ice shield keeps him alive. Keen coming in with the all-out. Busio flashes back over the wall. FlyQuest somehow live, but GenG easily win the fight. They're gonna use that tempo to put more damage into the tier 1 turret over here in mid. Keen overstepping his bounds a little bit here, has to try to step back away. Busio still hanging around too with about 300 HP. TP coming in from FlyQuest to reinforce the turret after losing 2 plates.
And look at the map pressure that GenG has as well. They're keeping top pushed in. There was no wave for Whippo to really push in on the bot side, and they collapse in mid for losing nothing. They get themselves more plates too. A clean collapse that should have really resulted in a kill. I think it was a bit of a misclick from Keen. I think he wanted to hit Quad, but he ended up hitting Busio. Ultimately, though, they get what they wanted.
Now Chovy and Canyon together up here hanging around this top side. Mazu on the Ezreal is very evasive, but man, if they ever catch him, he'll just pop instantly. Looking at the items coming online here, you can see first items completed for a couple of different players. Leandri's there for Canyon. Yes, Inspired has his first item fully completed as well. It is the Locket. This is an advantage of playing a tank jungler versus a carry. You just get to buy the thrift store stuff, much cheaper price point. But when you also look at the mid lane, Quad is 3/4 of the way to a fully stacked Seraph's Embrace. That'll be a big power spike once he can get those last 80 or so stacks.
Certainly will be. We turn our attention now to the Rift Herald, though, as GenG's already setting up for it. You can see the vision control they have around the top side river. Chovy keeping the push in the top wave. Cassante on the bot lane. His TP is about to be available, and so he has another wave that he can catch and push out. The problem for FlyQuest is there's not really any big points of pressure that they have access to right now. It's difficult to send Orianna off to a side lane. They're keeping Mazu over there, whereas GenG have already brought FaZe over. And the threat of that arrow onto Quad is something that he always has to be cautious of. Now they moved him up towards the top side. They do have that top tower available to him, but the risk of a collapse from GenG is something you have to respect.
MasterCard lane economy snapshot showing that yes, it's a small lead for Quad and for Busio, but the big story being told, Keen building that lead. Again, a big part of that was the outplay in the bottom lane in the 1v2, and then Canyon naturally just using the pace of the Nidalee, the tempo this champion can guarantee to stay ahead of Inspired the entire time. Rift Herald now the target for GenG, and FlyQuest can't really contest it. They just got to back away, so GenG is going to enjoy another neutral objective.
Yeah, they are, and I think that is kind of the advantage that they have earned for themselves with some of this early game power. Nice Scryer's trinket there. Does actually spot out that FlyQuest were trying to lay a trap. Inspired and Quad were waiting in that side brush, hoping that Chovy would overpush, but not going to be able to find a play.
Drops the Herald immediately. They know that the mid tower is very low. There's no wave for Masu to really contest with. And this should be another objective secured for GenG.
Yeah, Herald should just knock it over by itself. Kaboom! All right, needs one more auto attack to do it. Oh, wow!
Oh.
Okay, Masu saves the day. The turret has literally 20 HP out of 5,000.
Calculated.
It's a Shockwave top lane.
Quad in trouble though. Inspired shows up to try to block it for him. Chovy flashing over, making the outplay to guarantee they get their man. But now Inspired and Busio are still looking to lock up the GenG mid. Masu's there for a little bit of extra damage. Chovy doing everything he can to kite it out, but it ain't gonna matter. Inspired secures the kill. Canyon with a flash away from the grand entrance from Busio. FlyQuest making an even trade mid for mid.
And at the end of the day, they got more summoners, actually, because they forced the flash off Chovy and Canyon. Quad didn't have his, so it's just that flash there, traded by Inspired. Nice punch back here by FlyQuest, but again, it's the map play from GenG. They are the masters of macro. They play the map so incredibly well. So meanwhile, they're pushing in bot, they're pushing in mid, they're shoving these waves, and they're constantly taxing your resources elsewhere.
Quad gets spotted on a wards. He's thinking about heading back to top lane. Bit of indecision as the collapse comes through from GenG. A nice shockwave to buy himself some time. The flash comes in from Inspired to help keep his mid laner alive. It's a really good ultimate, but then the flash follow through from Chovy as he sidesteps that Ezreal ult. It's unfortunate for Masu that he can't get the kill here. Chovy going to throw out the ulti to create space between him and Masu. Means that Inspired's forced to take it, and then Canyon's able to get away to safety.
Yeah, nearly got it with the red buff burn there, but just didn't quite have enough damage to actually finish him off. And Chovy, at the very least, does deny the kill from the Ezreal, but Inspired getting a little bit of gold back, which is important for him to stay relevant in this game. You know, Canyon obviously maintains a very large farm advantage.
Let's see here if Lehens can get away from this. Inspired and Quad chasing after the Maokai, who used the flash to buy a little bit of extra time, but now it means there should be no way for him to get away from this. Quad will keep on chasing. Ball delivery complete as the enemy support is down. And again, we talked about it back in draft, boys. That's the main engage for GenG. Without that setup, there's not really a way for them to safely approach for something like this dragon. Meanwhile, an arrow flies out. Keen going all out underneath the turret, but Whippo's looking to outplay here with the Dominus. It's a 3v1, but Whippo gets away for now. Canyon, the backup, the spear connects. Whippo with a flash away, and the TP is going to be way too late. Quad goes in to find the shockwave, but a beautiful use of the stasis from Canyon. He stays alive. GenG maintain a 1-kill advantage as Quad and Busio have to retreat. The tier 1 turret is down, and GenG are holding the wrecking ball.
That was such a critical spear there from Canyon. If he doesn't land that on Whippo, I don't think they can actually go for the dive, but of course he does, because he is Canyon.
We're not done yet. Inspired, having to get away now. Dashing out of the river, throwing back the Glacial Prison. Looking to lock up Pays, who uses the cleanse to try to escape. Masu still firing back. FlyQuest is down 3,000 gold. They've got to be very careful about these fights that they take, because GenG are at a point of comfort.
GenG continue to demonstrate their mastery over macro as they lose Lehens and immediately, without hesitation, turn their attention to the top side of the map. Whippo, thinking that he can just catch this wave, does a good job of surviving the initial dive, but 3 members wasn't enough. GenG had committed 4 to the top side of the map with Canyon coming in on the flank, and as Azael said, that spear was crucial. You look at the minimap, Canyon already making his way up, the Asher, the TP commitment, just this level of awareness of where GenG can play on the map to at the very least get something back for the Dragon was masterful.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really big, but Whippo played well to clear out the wave. If he didn't get attacked by that spear, I think you can just walk out the back and Quad can come in and actually TP in and save the wave, and Whippo knows that one hurts, because not only does he go down, it's the flash, it's the TP, it's the ulti from Quad, it's them losing the tower either way.
Yeah.
That was a critical moment in the game, and Whippo knows it didn't go their way.
So grubs are even. FlyQuest might be up a single Drake, but it's 3 turrets to nothing for GenG. That is a huge part of this 3,000 gold lead they've built so far for themselves. Now Keen, yeah, he's far forward in the enemy jungle, but more importantly, he's Cassante. He has to commit the flash to get out, but he still stays alive and doesn't even lose a meaningful amount of health.
GenG, you just turn your attention to the minimap and you look at how much blue there is. FlyQuest barely have access into the river as the mid is being pushed in, top is being pushed in. Lehens is continuing to extend his vision line forward. Meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, Keen with a full level over Whippo is this immovable object. And who's at his side? Canyon. They're literally playing through every single part of the map right now, which usually shouldn't be possible, but they know how strong they are.
Yeah, you're talking about a full level lead in top. It's a 2-level lead in the jungle. Whippo's dominance ain't gonna matter. An arrow through the heart, and Canyon's taking the payday.
It pays from downtown, back-to-back arrows, nailing Whippo. FlyQuest trying to look for some sort of a counterplay on top side, but they just can't find it. And GenG are punishing Whippo time and time and time again.
Beautifully done from GenG. FlyQuest, let's see if they can find anything here. Inspired's gonna wrap around a little bit, interrupts Keen, but he can go all out, just immediately using that as the escape lever. Inspired continuing to try to lock up the GenG top laner. Masu behind him here for the chase. Glacial Prison finds the mark, but it finds the mark in the middle of the minion wave, which makes it that much harder to find your maximum DPS with the Ezreal, the Mystic shots, just colliding with this trash instead of finding the target you want in the Cassante.
You can see that FlyQuest is just kind of fishing at this point. There aren't many plays for them available on the map. They see if they can try and punish Keen, but don't quite have the damage to convert it into much. And the game, similar to game 2, is very quickly snowballing out of control.
It really is. And I mean, they may not have a Kassadin, they may not have a Jax, but Chovy is playing through the side lane constantly on this Tristana. And Keen, utilizing the massive advantage that he has built for himself, is just a brick wall that can constantly push in waves, constantly create avenues of attack for Canyon.
And when we looked at game 2, where GenG won, it looked like they were doing a lot to FlyQuest of what FlyQuest did to them in the previous game in game number 1, with the 80 carry domination, with snowballing through that early game. And now when we look at game number 4 and compare it to game number 3, it was FlyQuest's top and jungle in the previous game that were the vast majority of the lead. And now here in this latest episode, it's GenG again, suplexing that and taking the lead for themselves.
It absolutely is. You know, the bright spot for Fly, though, is that both of their carries are pretty close to where the GenG carries are, and we'll see if they can find Keen now.
They're committing a lot for a Cassante here. Whippo and Inspired chasing after him. Keen still trying to get away. GenG bringing in a TP. Cassante still not even taking any meaningful damage at all. Continuing to push forward. Arrow doesn't hit the target, and Chovy's gonna flash back away. All out from Keen. Quad's under pressure, and Whippo's about to die. FlyQuest chased too far. GenG are ready to punish, and they want even more. Beautiful engage from Kanan to keep on following it up. Quad barely trying to get away. He's got 200 HP remaining, and the Nidalee says no. It's nothing but a black and white screen for the FlyQuest solo laners, and GenG want to take us to a game point.
FlyQuest kept fishing, but they did not like what took the bait. The rest of GenG were quick to collapse as Chovy TPs in and buys time for the arrival of Canyon. FlyQuest.
Not gonna lie, I see so many unfortunate Orianas.
I think so
like,
too.
it's
GenG are just playing this game out so incredibly well.
How
FlyQuest
much
are gonna keep looking for opportunities, but the opportunities are gonna get fewer
Orianas,
and
like I've seen fumble the bag, like personally, like my friend fumbled super hard on Oriana, I think like almost 2 games in a row.
Way
it was just non-existent.
Anytime FlyQuest looks for something, GenG's ready to respond. Arrow from across the map, a teleport to show up and protect somebody. A 4th dude when 3 dudes can't get the dive done. GenG is prepared here in this 4th game.
I mean, they just can't kill Keen, right? You know, he's stacking so much armor, so Masu's not going to do it. Whippo's not going to do it. You're relying on Quad, but at this point in the game, there's just no way. And Oriana can't get it done. Maybe at 4, 5, 6 items can he threaten Keen, but it just takes no damage at this point.
Massive, massive difference in power between these top laners. Keen now finally getting a little bit of MR here too. You can see the Negatron cloak with the additional cloth armor and inventory. This should be the Jack show. And honestly, that's all he's gonna need with what you're talking about with the Oriana being this only AP threat. He's so far ahead of Whippo on the Renekton.
And I mean, FlyQuest's only hope in this game is if it goes really, really, really long, right? You know, they need to get to this point in the game where Quad has Magic Pen, where he has a Death Cap, where he has all these items in the AP behind that Magic Pen, and where Masu and him can actually threaten the front line, because that is feeling like that is a good 20 minutes off, and I don't think GenG's going to give you that time.
This is the clinical precision that we're used to seeing from GenG. Little room for FlyQuest to come back, and crucially, we think back to FlyQuest's team fights. That has been their avenue to victory, and GenG have denied them any sort of option to get those in this game. It's not been about the 5v5, it's the skirmishes, the 3v3s, the 2v2s, the fights that happen before the objectives even spawn. Perhaps a Baron could be FlyQuest's way back in.
Whippo looking for the flank on Pays. Dominus pop with the arrow to immediately try to stop the FlyQuest top laner. Sterix Gage to keep him alive. Keen's ready to keep on pushing forward here with the Pathmaker going in, looking for a little bit more damage onto Quad. Whippo's going to be dropped first. Quad's going to go right with them. Whippo and Quad, the solo laners down. A double kill for Chovy as GenG do not stop here. They keep chasing the remaining FlyQuest players with Keen leading the charge. FlyQuest disengaged successfully, but GenG run this rift.
FlyQuest look for an avenue of attack, but at this point the wallet difference is just too big. The idea from Whippo there, providing a gate for Busio to get onto the back line. The Shockwave combo connects, but it just doesn't do enough damage, and now the Baron begun by GenG.
FlyQuest knows they can't afford to give this one away, but what else is even gonna happen? Chovy and GenG chasing after FlyQuest, killing Masu, burying Busio, and just making Inspired head home alone.
And GenG just landed the knockout punch in this game number 4 with the Baron. That has to be it. GenG running away with this one, playing the map so incredibly well, knowing their limits in these fights, knowing how to extend the advantage to impossible lengths.
Here we go again. FlyQuest still trying to stop it, but a TP behind him coming in from Keen. The Cassante that has run the whole game start to finish seals their fate. Canyon's unstoppable, and Quad is dead. Whippo and Inspired can't get anywhere close. Keen is a brick wall, and FlyQuest don't have any siege equipment. Inspired's trying to escape as Chovy jumps over the wall, but now FlyQuest is in an even rougher spot. Busio wants to make space for his team, but a third and Topo strike knocks back two. FlyQuest still trying to run, but GenG's stronger, GenG's faster, GenG's better.
The Titans from the LCK refuse to go quietly into the night. FlyQuest have put up a valiant fight, but just look at the decimation. Good target focus there from GenG, immediately peeling for Pays. Once he creates space, the Shockwave does connect onto Chovy and Canyon, but it barely tickles them. With the damage done, FlyQuest have nothing left but to retreat.
Exactly, and I mean, FlyQuest, they know it was always going to be a long shot in the position of this game, but you've got to look for those slim opportunities. This is Worlds. You don't get another series if you lose this one. You got to leave it all out on the Rift, and that's what they're trying to do here. GenG, though, just far too strong in this 4th game, and it really starts to become about how are you feeling going into game number 5? What are the picks going to be? What is the draft going to look like? Because FlyQuest likely will be going back to the blue side here, which we have seen so much success on in Worlds.
The Hens using the blast cone to get away as FlyQuest just trying to get any sort of a pick they can, just trying to slow this down any way they can. It's only 26 minutes on the clock, but it is a 12,000 gold lead for GenG's side as they continue pushing up here in the top lane. Chovy, between his own rapid fire and the buff from Canyon's Nidalee, is an absolute machine gun on this Tristana. The DPS is out of control. He's got the quick blades, he's got the armor penetration on the Mortal Reminder, and he's got the rest of GenG beside him. FlyQuest going in for their final Hail Mary. True Shot Barrage over the wall. Lehen's tanking up as Chovy gets back away. Inspired down to 300 HP, and Whippo does nothing. Shockwave on 2 won't matter. Inspired's about to bleed out. Chovy's dominating, and Keen won't stop. Double kill. Back over to Chovy. FlyQuest are gonna have to be ready for game 5, because GenG are ready to clean this up. Masu and Inspired trying with everything they've got to defend the last 2 Nexus turrets, but GenG is far too powerful. Lehens and Keen making the space. FlyQuest trying to hold on, but it's not gonna work. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Silver Scrapes.
Jesus, what a nice game. To tie it up 2-2. Will our hometown heroes be able to pull it out? We'll be back with game number 5.
Exhaust for Lehens. That'll be very useful against the Fiddlesticks.
Yep.
Inspired also with a Summoner's Spellbook, though. That's something we don't see a lot of it these days.
Yo, Fiddlesticks!
When he changes those spells.
Smolder 6? I think it's over. GenG have the Uber late game come. This is going to be too much damage.
You can cleanse exhaust.
That's a good idea.
So you can actually play, in a way that is pretty surprising. But Fiddlesticks, one of the biggest things about this champion is you need to maintain vision control.
Yes.
You have to be surprising your opponents. you will always be getting reacted to if you are, on vision, if you are on wards. So controlling space, controlling fog is massively important, and we'll see if they can do that against GenG, who is known as one of, if not the best macro teams in the world, is an expert at stopping that sort of play.
Well, here we go. We're getting into it. The laning phase. Nice knockback. Exhaust already expended.
Yeah, Masu hit with that summoner spell means FlyQuest will just accept that as a win. No lane swap, importantly, in this 5th and final game.
All right, Azael, I'm going to rely on your expertise here. Do you know much about the Set Rumble matchup top lane?
I mean, Set is just really difficult for a lot of melee matchups because you can walk forward. The E and the passive autos do so much damage. It is very difficult to deal with him, in these early levels. I do think Rumble will struggle if you get in these committed trades. For Rumble, it's going to be about keeping distance, using the Electro Harpoon to slow him down when he pops the Q to walk forward, and just looking to scale, looking to not get caught into a full-on team fight.
Well, that wave is a bit of a horrible spot for Quads.
Yeah,
all the minions are just at slightly awkward HP, which means he's going to lose a lot of farm there. This is kind of the idea behind the Smolder. You can easily stack up against the Yone, and you can just kind of bully him out of the laning phase. At a certain point, it will be possible for Quad to win out on the 1v1 trades, but in this early phase, he's just going to have to accept the futility of the matchup.
Exactly, and remember, it's not just the last hits for the stacks. Every time Chovy hits Quad with that snot, it's another one of these stacks. It's more acceleration towards those critical breakpoints for making sure the Smolder can become that insurance policy GenG needs it to be.
And Chovy is just making this a nightmare for Quad. He is playing past the minions as far as he can up, without getting hit by the tower. Every single time you're going for a minion, you're getting autoed and then you're getting queued. When you back off and you're limited in where you can go, you're going to get hit by the W. It is very difficult for Quad in this position because he needs to get as much farm as he possibly can. He's falling extremely behind, and it is only 3.5 minutes in. I mean, this is Chovy at his best, dominating a lane.
And this is what he needs to do. We've talked so much about how Chovy considered the best player to never win Worlds, considered potentially the best player in the world right now, but always coming up short in these big moments. He's got to step up now when it matters.
Look at the potential dive in top lane. That is a mega stacked wave, and Inspired has made his way back towards the bot side of the map.
Yeah, Whippo, though, respecting the potential of that, he's not contesting the wave. He knows it's pushing towards him, so you don't need to step up in that spot. You bounce the wave, it'll stack and push to you, so stay under your tower. And Set is notoriously hard to dive because of the Haymaker. You absorb all that damage, you put it right back around on them. And so they can't look for it. They only really could have gone for that play if Whippo overextended, and he didn't.
All right, Whippo happy to just fall back here as Keen gets the wave shoved in. Whippo is also down in farm about the same amount as Quad. Of course, he will have more to collect up here as the wave crashes into the turret. Canyon showing up down here in bottom lane, wards the Tri-Brush, but does not make his presence known as Masu and Busio are at least the lane that is holding on, that is breaking even with their counterparts on GenG, but winning both solo lanes is a very good omen early here for the Korean team.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I mean, Whippo not able to land the center of that Haymaker. So, you miss out on that True Image, miss out on that bonus damage, and Keen is really making this difficult here for Whippo. Set obviously does have a lot of health regen. You can be pretty durable, but when you get put that low, it's time to go back to base.
I mean, Keen finding advantages in the 1v1. I imagine the big advantage of Set is when you're looking into a Smolder and a Ziggs, they can be difficult to lock down. But when you've got a Maokai diving into you and a Skarner, they're great backline delivery tools. Yeah. That's where Set thrives. And so if he is the person that GenG becomes scared of, what does that draw your focus away from? Inspired in the jungle, who typically when you're coming into these team fights, so much of the conversation is care for the fiddle, get the exhaust ready for the fiddle, get ready to lock him down, CC him, whatever. But if you've got this Set just drawing all this attention, it can create a lot more chaos and panic that GenG have to deal with.
And I mean, it's going to be, tough here for Whippo.
Canyon looking for the enemy top laner. Whippo using the showstopper to get back away. Remember, once he goes into that animation, you're not going to cancel it with CC. So nicely uses Canyon as an escape mechanism.
But even with that, he was losing minions during that time. Inspired was moving up towards top, and they will spot Canyon. He's trying to get behind Lehens.
Lehens should be able to retreat in time from this one. And I mean, just look at the farm. It continues to be massive for the GenG solo laners as Busio could be in a bit of a rough spot here, but Chovy has no way to lock him down. GenG coming to challenge here for the first set of grubs. Inspired not level 6 on this Fiddlesticks. Whippo has already used his ultimate. FlyQuest don't want anything to do with this fight, and a GenG team that's already almost 1,000 gold ahead just off of laning secures the first 3 grubs.
Yeah, I think Inspired was really hoping to just steal 1 grub and then get out of there, but he wasn't given the time to do it, and here they come again.
Whippo has no ulti this time. He does have flash, he does have the haymaker. Boom, there's a big punch. Whippo stays fine.
And looks like he was able to actually interrupt Canyon's E with his own, snapping him out of that charge there, keeping himself safe. So well played there by Whippo, but it is GenG with full control here. 800 gold ahead. They scale very, very well. And when FlyQuest commits to a team fight, it's going to be all about having the perfect execution in the first moments of that fight.
Yes.
Fiddlesticks ult, Yone ult, Set ult. All of these have to be picture perfect, or GenG is going to disengage, and then they're going to kite you out, and they're going to burst you down in the long run.
All right, here we go again. Lehens and Pays versus Whippo, using the haymaker early to try to nullify a lot of the upfront damage. Whippo exhausted now, flashing to try to get away. Canyon coming around from the side, expect the impale here from the Skarner. Whippo with beautiful footwork to get away from the 3v1.
I genuinely thought Whippo was dead there. He didn't flash until the exhaust came through to create enough space between him and the bot lane of GenG. But he's doing a good job of soaking up a lot of this pressure to provide space for FlyQuest on the bot side of the map.
Exactly, and look where that gold is going. It's going to Masu here, pushing in that wave, trying to farm these plates. Whippo really stepping up. They have pressured him hard. GenG and a lot of their wins have been able to prey on Whippo in the side lanes. They've been able to put him really far down, and clearly they are seeing that as the recipe to success. But Whippo's not giving it to him this time.
I'm actually very surprised to see that he's caught up in farm to Keen. I'm curious as to what Keen was doing in that window because I wasn't keeping track, but the fact that that gap is closed, Whippo was able to get a bunch of waves on top side, and I guess Keen was at risk of getting dived, so he must have been zoned a lot with that heavy investment from FlyQuest on the bot side of the map, because I was getting worried for FlyQuest. The thing about their comp is it's exciting, it's cool to look at, the idea behind it is good, but they're conceding a lot in the early game. They don't have a lot of tools to really contest. And that's why GenG is very quick to find these advantages. So finding that punish on the cross map to deny Keen that farm and experience is crucial.
It absolutely is. I mean, it's so important to be able to stay relevant, to stay close in gold, and they've done just that. They're only down 300 gold at this point. You can see Inspired has actually spellbooked over to Ignite, so he does not have Smite right now. So he is trying to look for some sort of a fight. We'll see if he can find it during this window.
Canyon up top again, this time finding his way towards Busio and Masu, who have swapped up to this part of the map, but it's not going to work. Busio is level 6 now, Unbreakable Will available on the Alistar. We're talking about wombo combos a lot for FlyQuest in this composition. Part of that includes Fate's Call from Masu, throw Busio in there, the Bowling Ball of Destruction, the original Callista buddy in the Alistar to try to, again, have that massive AoE CC. But back on GenG's side, they've still got a pretty even state in terms of gold. They're still stacking on this Smolder. Quad, again, gonna be safe, but under pressure from Canyon.
And quietly, we have to note, Inspired is creating a pretty big farm advantage. It's been Canyon nonstop looking for these plays, but not really finding them. And Inspired is just farming away, farming away. Fiddlesticks can be such a threat in these team fights. You find that good ultimate, you can decide the whole game for yourself.
All right, the thing I'm still looking at, first 3 grubs did go the way of GenG. That was back when Inspired was still only level 5. We'll see if FlyQuest can secure any kind of a neutral objective for themselves now, as the second set of grubs is not yet alive, but the Drake is still around, that first spawned Drake, and that's gonna be GenG's property. Canyon will take it no contest.
Being able to secure those grubs would be a big deal for FlyQuest. I think that something worth noting is, as Zale has mentioned so many times this series, FlyQuest are willing to show restraint. If they feel they're not strong enough to fight, then they will just concede the objective. And to their credit, in the games that they've won, they've been more than happy to do that. They've fallen behind before, and they've leveraged their strong team fighting to claw their way back into games. So the fact that they find themselves at these deficits, sure, is a little bit concerning. It's understandable, but at the end of the day, they're playing for the fights. They're playing for the 5v5.
Exactly, I agree completely, Vetty, and I think it's so interesting when you consider that it wasn't that long ago that there was this narrative about North American teams at Worlds that would do nothing and then just lose the game. You get outplayed in the one fight where you have a shot and then the game would be over. FlyQuest is changing that narrative. FlyQuest is showing that, no, you can go toe-to-toe with these teams in a 5v5 if you draft correctly, if you play to your win conditions, if you execute on a high enough level, you can take on GenG head-to-head and beat them.
And right now, that head-to-head is still very close. A few hundred gold favoring GenG overall. Still about a 10 CS lead here for Keen over Whippo. Still about plus 25 for Chovy in the mid lane. 125 CS here on this Smolder. Just a little bit over 11 minutes into the game. Stacking up a Storm. We'll see hopefully so soon whenever we can get an update on what that checkpoint is. I assume he's got to be getting close to 125
Flowers,
now.
here comes the fiddle.
Okay. Inspired on the approach, but he is going to walk over a ward. The Sapling's going to see him there as well.
So stack update, Chovy at 120 already here.
Okay.
11 minutes in. That is a ridiculous pace. He's going very fast at this point, and it is just going to speed up and speed up. I mean, hasn't purchased any CDR, so to be at that point is very impressive. FlyQuest, though, over on the grubs here. GenG moving to potentially contest.
Inspired, working on all of them. He can use that W to drain them all down. There comes Mom, but FlyQuest look like they're just going to secure all 3 grubs. No Void Mites for either team in Game 5.
FlyQuest is grateful for the leash. 2 ultimates invested, and easy secure from FlyQuest. You can see the idea there from GenG. Use those ultimates to try and steal, but great patience from FlyQuest to resist the urge to lower the HP enough to allow the steal.
Exactly, no panic there. And Quad, yes, he is behind, but the disadvantage has stabilized, and he got a cull, and it's about to cash out, and that's going to eliminate actually a lot of this gold disparity in the mid lane. So, you know, Quad hanging on, you're laning against Chovy, it's range versus melee. Of course, Chovy is going to be very far ahead, and now with that cull cashing out, he is dead even. He is down less than 20 gold behind Chovy, so the mid lane lead is nothing.
Which is crazy, considering he's, what, 30, 25 CS down?
Cull's not bad.
Yeah.
Works out, works out. The gold itself for the entire game is now also back to dead even between the sides. We've talked a little bit about it, but I want to revisit it. Canyon has been all over the map. He's been making trips to mid. He's made a lot of trips up to top, but it hasn't resulted in anything yet for GenG. We are 13 minutes into the game, gentlemen. 45 seconds left on the clock till plates fall. No kills.
And this is the Game 5 we wanted. No early snowball from either side. It's going to come down to the 5v5s that we wanted to see. And we talked about it in draft, this old school draft, which is kind of what defined the previous patch's meta on the competitive circuit, into FlyQuest's meta. A meta where they have been experimenting, exploring, and deciding for themselves what they think the strongest champions are on the patch.
And I truly believe this series, this game, could be something that completely changes how people perceive draft, how people perceive champion strength, and how people perceive the meta going forward in League of Legends. If FlyQuest is able to take down GenG, utilizing champions that no one else is playing, doesn't that just mean that people are not evaluating champion strength correctly?
Oh yeah, I completely agree.
But it does come down to winning. If you get close, that doesn't get you semifinals.
People can wipe it away, say it's a fluke, it's a couple games, but you couldn't seal the deal.
The narrative shifts so dramatically right around the win versus the loss.
It does.
At the end of the day, people remember the results, and not the nuances behind them. And North America don't want to be in a situation where they were close. They want to be in a situation where they can hold their hands up. I mean, they should be proud of this performance regardless. But to get a win would be, I mean, as many have already said, one of the most historic, if not the most historic upsets in world's history.
We brought it up in Game 1, but to remind everybody, or to let you know if you weren't there for it, it was all the way back in 2020, the last time that a North American or European, a Western team at all, took a single game off of a Korean team in a best-of-5. It was all the way back in 2018, Cloud9 versus Afrika Freaks. That was the last time that North America beat a Korean team in a best-of-5 series. That is 6 long years ago. And now FlyQuest have the chance to get rid of that international ignominy and put themselves in a spot where they can make other teams respect their presence here at this tournament.
Exactly. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, you know, for the journey of these players, and not just the North American players, the European players, and Quad, who retired after, you know, a disappointing performance in the LCK where he couldn't even come close to touching the likes of Chovy. Now here in North America has been really showing up.
Okay, FlyQuest are starting up the Drake, but they're doing it on top of a ward. Busio's going to clear out the control ward from GenG in the banana brush on approach, but it looks like GenG is not interested in contesting this Drake. FlyQuest going to take that one.
0 stacks on the hard steal so far from Canyon. He is, of course, only recently bought it, but GenG are conceding these objectives. The gold is swinging into FlyQuest's favor. Blade of the Ruin King, double on the side of Quad and Masu. These are big spikes for both these champions, and now the side lane becomes a lot scarier for Chovy.
And it is going to be a Chem Tech Soul here on the table. Not one that people are really prioritizing very highly whatsoever.
But in team fights,
it can be valuable.
I think we've seen the difference before, right?
I agree.
It's I want to say that it was FlyQuest in their series versus HLE where they had the soul, and then it was thanks to those additional resources that helped keep football alive so many times. But point is that 1-to-1 in Dragons right now.
Yeah.
No first blood. We have to be approaching. No one's pinged me in my ear yet, but we have to be approaching the longest first blood of worlds.
I think it already is, because I remember in an earlier game it being about 13 minutes in when we were called for the longest first blood at Worlds.
Well, they want Quad. It's going to be TPs coming in from both sides. Fate Sealed arrives, but he buffers back through the Impale with a soul unbound. Mom roars in. Quad is low, but he ain't dead yet. Keen's in trouble, but he turns it back around. First blood over to Chovy, and GenG get their moment.
An intense play.
The 20 minutes first
trying
blood.
to jump in now and get a little bit more Boostio. Oh, he's so very close to death. It was nearly a 2-0 for GenG.
A nice dive initially from GenG, but the response was a snap TP from Bwipo. Quad executed so well, utilizing the E to create space, a really quick ultimate onto Chovy. I thought that he was able to outplay, but Keen's Rumble ultimate swung the fight in GenG's favor.
I mean, that was incredible from Quad. I want to see it one more time. I mean, he used the E to immune the Skarner ult. He nails the ulti in onto Chovy, snap back, immune Skarner ult, played it incredibly well. I didn't see quite what happened with Boostio when he flashed forward. I'm not sure if it was a failed combo or if he did get disengaged on. I kind of want to see that one more time because there was so much going on in that little moment.
Well, I have now just been informed, yes, that was the latest first blood at this Worlds. Game number 5, slow and steady. Both teams all too aware of everything on the line in this one. Chovy continuing to stack up down here in the bottom lane as Inspired will move up and look to secure the Rift Herald for FlyQuest.
I think that, Bwipo needs to be careful, doesn't have the ulti available.
Does get a nice stun there onto Canyon. Haymakers the rest of the wave just to get rid of it and make sure that GenG have to back up.
So as this objective is going down, we'll do a very quick stack check. 212. 18.5 minutes into the game.
Back in the mid lane, though. Masu caught out of position. Pays and Lahens getting the kill in the FlyQuest carry.
That was the missing flash. Lahens forced his, his cleanse. He forced his cleanse down on that bot side around that skirmish. This time, uses the flash, flashes forward, catches him out. With no cleanse, there was no shot for Masu to get out of there.
And that's 2 quick towers secured for GenG. Bot mid going their way. They forced Bwipo back. And Chovy, I mean, I think one more minion. Okay, he's 2 stacks off the 225 mark. So, I mean, GenG very quickly finding an advantage here as we enter the mid game.
Yeah, but still, the game is very close. It's not even 1,000 gold between them. It's just 900 and change there. GenG do open up the first real lead of the game, but FlyQuest well within distance here to make their mark on this, and we're gonna have to find out, will it be a fight around this next dragon? That's gonna be spawning in 120. The Baron obviously active here in just about 30 seconds, and this game is really ramping up in pressure.
I really want to see FlyQuest get a good setup around this dragon. A minute's time, they need that setup to find the good fight. Remember, their siege, it's really hard to siege against a Smolder and a Ziggs. These champions can stall for days. So finding good fights, securing objectives are going to be crucial to find an advantage in this game.
And I
GenG
feel like
really
Smolder
said,
is just working out so
fuck
well
traditional
for Chovy so far.
games.
The game being so low octane.
We're playing
just
the
giving all that room
90-minute
to farm.
banger.
You're talking about a player
We're not
who is
losing.
known so well for farming that if you have Chovy farm, it means you're farming way more than you ever should. He's already at that final stack mark before 20 minutes into the game. He's already on Trinity Force plus Muramana. This guy is set up to be the carry, but Inspired with the ult at the end of the wall, immediately into the showstopper coming out from Bwipo. Boostio jumps in, and Chovy is down. Quad goes with the Fate Sealed, looking for Canyon now as well, but he's gonna have to snap back here in just a moment. GenG's mid laner finally caught.
Farm as much as you like. FlyQuest will take the kill on him anyway. Looking to set up for this tower on bot for the next dragon as well. The rewards do grow, but Chovy's up in 20. We'll see if he wants to do anything on the map with this TP, because for now, it's GenG heading out towards top lane, looking to take some more gold as the response.
The biggest downside is that the kill went onto Busio. 500 gold into the Alistar, not optimal, but you'll still take the kill. Bot lane tower secured. I'm surprised FlyQuest chose not to go for the Drake, but ultimately it just ends up being an exchange of towers and a big kill onto Chovy.
Worth pointing out here too, interesting itemization. We'll talk about it after we do the replay.
So, Inspired, sitting in the brush, managed to make his way in here. Look at how long this little dragon is terrified for. He then gets CC'd by Bwipo into the follow-up from Busio, securing a quick pick. Nicely done there from FlyQuest. The thing I wanted to point out, the 500 gold that you're talking about the Busio got did allow him to complete his first item. He has the Abyssal Mask on the Alistar because you're up against both a Rumble and a Ziggs, and this is going to amplify the damage of the Fiddlesticks in the middle of the fight.
Absolutely, and even the Smolder does some magic damage in there, plus there's the Maokai, so I do think it's actually a pretty effective buy. The question is it better than something like a Locket?
Hang on.
Guys, we have FlyQuest going for a Baron sneak. GenG are none the wiser.
No, they have to be suspicious, right? Pays.
No, but look, they shot off the Scryer's Bloom. Okay, finally, Pay's gonna throw the Mega Inferno Bomb in there.
Can they finish?
They've got the Baron down to about 5,000. FlyQuest going from an insane Hail Mary right now. King going into the pit as now the teleport's gonna come out from Chovy. Bwipo is already dead. Keen's looking to take Inspired out of the picture now too, but Keen's gonna die. Inspired also drops. 2 for 1, favoring GenG. FlyQuest went for the crazy play, and GenG are ready to punish. A double kill for Chovy.
FlyQuest! Look at G2 throwing a Baron and like, we'll do you one better, G2! We'll go out with the bang!
Setting up for the Dragon. They can steal away the Baron. They have the damage, but they get spotted out. Pays reads the play, and the response from GenG was way too fast.
I really wonder if the vision plan on top side actually kind of tipped them off. You know, I know that they realized then people are up on the top side. I think the idea from FlyQuest is you hit the vision plant and they say, oh, they must just be clearing out the wards. They're checking if it's there. But I do feel like immediately once that went off on the minimap, GenG started moving up towards the top side. And I think that might be the deciding play here of this 5th game. They get put so low by this Ziggs ult. They're tanking the Baron. King gets the equalizer, and he just goes straight in on him with the Blast Cone.
That control ward as well to allow for the TP. So much damage done by Keen alone. He forces the stopwatch out from Inspired, and then he ends up dropping. And then remember the stacks. Oh, the Blast Cone gets hit as well, knocking Masu back in, allowing Chovy to get a double.
That Blast Cone was massive. I don't think they were expecting Masu to flash over the wall and be in that spot. So I think it was Quad that hit it, trying to blast himself into a better spot to make a play. And instead, Masu goes back into the river, and now GenG with a 4,000 gold lead. It's 23 minutes into the game, and they're bulldozing their way to the FlyQuest Nexus. The bottom lane inhibitor turret falls. Bottom lane inhibitor next on the menu. Bwipo trading back a tier 2 turret up in the top side.
Yeah, I mean, the wave clear for FlyQuest is really, really weak here. You've got Kalista, you've got Yone and Set. These champions cannot deal with the Baron Siege, and that's why they've made the choice to just try to play through sides, try to get gold back elsewhere. For now, they are down just above 3,000 gold. It is still within striking distance, but the problem becomes GenG have full control of the map. GenG still have the Baron, and one more bad fight could be the end of Worlds for FlyQuest.
The game was so quiet, so calm for so long, but that's the problem with those Hail Mary plays. If you drop the ball, all of a sudden you are staring down the barrel of terror. Over the wall though, go Inspired and Quad. They find the pick onto Keen with 2 ultimates.
That's a nice pick.
It's a good pick for FlyQuest. These are the type of plays they need to be finding. They can't afford to give up.
There's nothing to play for on the map,
so it
was really nice that they invested time to that pick, because by the time Baron or whatever is going to be up, the ultimates are going to be back up.
Quad
so the
getting
ultimate
that
is
kill
like
is also very valuable, as this
Yasuo.
Yasuo can be a turning point in the game.
Yeah, Yone definitely very rapid in these
sorry,
later
Yone,
stages.
my apologies.
Chovy, though,
Same family, you're good.
has the QSS now, gets that much harder. He's approaching that rapid fire cannon as well, as Canyon will live this, but that is the Sterix being procced, and now FlyQuest getting corralled a little bit here.
Yeah, Busio flashing over the wall, trying to make the play on Canyon, but he wasn't fast enough to get the headbutt the other way. Lahen's coming in, trying to help him, but Chovy's ready. Mom's already been summoned. Canyon's low, but he ain't gonna be killed off here just yet. And already Quad bites the dust. FlyQuest again overextending, looking for their way into the back line, but a double kill over to Chovy. Bwipo's gonna die next. GenG are slaughtering them. A triple for the mid laner. Chovy will not be denied.
FlyQuest try to go for another pick. They think that they've caught Canyon out of position, but he uses his ultimate to pull FlyQuest right into the waiting arms of Chovy. The flank from Bwipo looked good, but the play just didn't come to fruition, and GenG back in the driver's seat.
They just didn't have the damage
It
to make
is
it
sad
happen. There's no alternate Inspired, and Masu wasn't even there. So
fumble at the end.
can't
But
finish
hey,
these kills,
they put
and
up
now
a
Masu
hell of an
he's
impressive
gonna go down
fight.
as well.
Surely there is no way out here for a Callista. They'll give the kill over to Keen this time, and GenG over the course of 5 minutes
FlyQuest
have
did
taken a dead
what
even
all of
game
Asia
and
couldn't
shoved
do.
it straight
They
through
took
the heart of
Hanwha
FlyQuest.
to the brink of a
crushing
loss,
situation for FlyQuest to find themselves in.
and they
Chovy's got
pushed
TP.
GenG
Chovy just not
to
afraid
like
of Alistar
play this
whatsoever.
auto win
no
comp.
respect needed, no respect given. GenG
They beat
looking to put
GenG
pressure on the tier 3 turret
traditionally
in the top side
twice.
and mid lane at the same time.
Fantastic.
They did get flash off Chovy though, so he TPs
Really
in,
proud.
loses his flash,
No
so
matter-
it could be a small way in for FlyQuest. Let's see if they can find it.
FlyQuest are going to have to find something big because GenG just keep the pressure on. Mid lane tier 3 is already out, and now the inhibitor could be next. But GenG, respecting what might happen with the Fiddlesticks, backing themselves away. They throw the equalizer in a spot where even if they did get jumped on, it would be so hard for FlyQuest to follow up. Super minions continuing to pour in the bottom lane.
Exactly, it's just getting harder and harder here for FlyQuest. They lost that bot lane inhibitor, has been a thorn in their side ever since. You're down more than 6,000 gold here. Chovy did lose his flash, but still has the QSS, has those 3 items, has an immense amount of stacks now. 315 on the Smolder. It's just gonna get harder and harder, it feels like, for FlyQuest. And when you lose full control of the map, it's so tough for Fiddlesticks to really find any angles, to really find any surprising ways to start a fight.
We talked about how that setup for FlyQuest is so important, and you mentioned it, Azelle, that Baron really was the crux, the turning point. And as much as we'd love to sit here and say that like FlyQuest have potential angles back into the game, the problem is you go to the bottom of your scoreboard and you see Chovy, 300 CS, 6 one-on-one scoreline with 3 items completed and a QSS to mitigate the fear from Inspired.
And when people want to talk about Chovy as one of the best, if not the best players in the world, you have to step up in these big moments. He has been able to do just that for GenG in this 5th game. Got a big lane advantage, has been pulling that through into the team fights. Busio, though, looking for a potential long flank here. FlyQuest needs to get creative, and they need to be able to find a way in.
GenG, they broke open the game with the Baron, with the punish on FlyQuest's sneak, and now with the Baron alive again, they are in total control.
Oh, no.
Inspired and Masu in a very compromised position. Busio coming around to try to help them. Inspired has Ghost on his Summoner Spellbook to try to join up. Busio now looking to reinforce the lines as well, but it looks like it's going to be so hard for Bwipo to make his way into the fight as they have to try to save Busio now. Masu barely hanging on. Inspired back over the wall here with a Crow Storm, but it ain't going to be enough just yet. Masu can't even find any damage. Pei stays alive. Redemption for the heal. Chovy's dominating, and Masu burns. Keen gets the kill, and Bwipo will just try to get away from Lahens and Pays. A double kill for Keen. FlyQuest is aced.
All 5
It's over.
members of FlyQuest
It's
drop,
over.
and GenG will
And his
crush
hopes
the
are
hopes
dead.
of North America.
GenG
But
was
hey,
pushed
we made
to
a
the
cooler
limit.
Baron throw
They were
than we
pushed
did.
to the edge,
We
but they
actually
were
won
built
games
for these
versus
situations.
the
They were
LCK.
built for victory. They were built to win, and they will do just that. Whether it's 3 games, whether it's 5, it does not matter. GenG has a date with destiny.
Let's go! All right, GenG
GenG got
taking
a
a.
lead, they did not let go of it. FlyQuest,
Why are they playing heavy
they
as the crown?
inspired so many. They
All right. Why would they play heavy as the crown like here, like when the game ends? God damn it. Anyways, I hope you guys like this new style of video editing, where I'm actively this is for when I miss the live streams, of course, because not gonna miss every live stream, but it's just been kind of rough for certain things, and yeah. I hope you guys like the me cutting through all the bullshit, because like, so there's one big problem when we make these videos or whatever for like the Worlds, MSI, and whatever content. The Riot only uses DMCA stuff for their music. They don't like, it's funny that like none of Riot's songs are usable in streams. So I have to like cut through and stuff, and sometimes they even like they ruin the champ select. So that's why I started skipping the champ select, because like while the champ select is cool, you know, like if we ever want to monetize the videos, we kind of have to cut out all the bullshit. But like it's really fucking annoying. But hopefully you guys enjoy this. Anyways, let me know in the comment section down below. If you prefer this, prefer the full VODs, and then we just wait however long it takes to mute the song segments, because that's what I'm doing on like a lot of my bigger popular videos or whatever. But let me know. We will be back with the semi-finals, I believe. I want to say like Saturday and Sunday, but I don't know. I think it's like the 26th to 27th, and then the 2nd of November. So the 26th, 6 days from now. Yeah, it's next. We'll see you guys next Saturday. And I want to thank you guys for watching this video, as always. The people that watch my content, I really appreciate you coming to watch me, or to just support the channel, watching the games alongside with me. It's always nice and fun. Thank you guys for showing up to the cast. It really means a lot. My life is starting to see a changing point, to the point where things are getting like better and better, and I'm like really, 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 really happy about it. And it would have never been possible without the support of the people that come out to watch the videos and just hang out and make my life, you know, fun to have. So once again, yeah, I know I sound a little empathetic or whatever, but yeah, it's things are changing in a big way, and I honestly I can't be more grateful than I already am. Like super, 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 super grateful. Anyways, thank you, and we'll see you guys next Saturday. Ciao, bye.